Welcome, everyone. This is your friend, the DN WhatIf 2.0, here with another exciting fanfiction. Today, we're diving into the story of What If Deku's Mom Never Came Back? If you enjoy this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more fanfiction content just like this. Now, let's get started with the fanfic. It was a normal day like any other. Izuku got up for breakfast, said good morning to his mom, and went to the TV to watch the Hero News Network stations that played while he scribbled down as many notes as he could on any unsuspecting scraps of paper that were lying around in his grasp. Today was a special day, his mom had told him, because he would go to the doctor's to get to learn what his quirk was. He wondered if he would be able to make things float like his mom's, or breathe fire like his dad's, or if he could have something entirely unique. He knew he couldn't have something as amazing as Kachan's quirk. His was really cool and he knew he would become a very powerful and amazing hero one day. They had already agreed that once he gets his own quirk, Izuku could team up with Kaken and they could fight together, an unstoppable duo. Izuku couldn't wait to go to school tomorrow after his appointment and tell everyone what he had learned. He was finishing his notes on Midnight's quirk as she took down a villain on the TV, sending them to sleep without need of much fighting, when Izuku's mom gently coaxed him out of his hyperfixation to let him know they had to leave. Izuku eagerly ran towards the door and put on his red shoes and followed his mom out the door, the soft click of the lock and testing to ensure the door was properly locked before she opened the car door and the two people drove off to the doctor's appointment. "I'm sorry, but your son's quirkless," the man had said, with a straight face and little to no expression to show any sort of actual empathy for his predicament. "I'm sorry," Inko repeated, looking from her son to the doctor, as if waiting for him to pull a gotcha moment that never came. "See here on this chart? He has an extra toe joint that is commonly shared with other quirkless people. I'd recommend reading up on some of these brochures," the man said, turning around to look open a drawer filled with different kinds of papers. He pulled out a few with covers that illustrated kids looking happy with their parents in the grassy fields, text on the top that read, "So, your kid's quirkless, what now?" and another brochure that depicted a kid alone in a room with the lights off, this one reading Things to Expect with Raising Quirkless Children. Read up on these, they have facts and information about what to expect from here on out. The doctor commented. Izuku couldn't continue paying attention after that, instead staring at his feet, as if to will them to change to allow him a quirk. He looked up at his mom, tears threatening to spill from his eyes. This was fine, it was alright, maybe he wouldn't get a quirk but that wouldn't change anything, would it? He could still be a hero without one, and Kaken would still let him be his sidekick, things would be alright, wouldn't they? Then he saw it, the look in his mother's eyes as she grabbed the brochures and crumpled them in her fist. The look of betrayal, disgust, something that he would never forget seeing on her face. The tears started to slowly slide down Izuku's face before he noticed it. "Thank you," Inko replied, though it sounded strained. Izuku didn't know what to do when they left the doctor's office. His mom was silent and didn't acknowledge him. That was okay, maybe she was just trying to figure out the best way to comfort me. Izuku thought. Everything would be fine. Today didn't go as expected but it wouldn't be like much changed, right? I mean, everything before this day he was essentially quirkless. Nothing had to change now that it was an official diagnosis, right? "Our son is quirkless?" Hisashi asked. He didn't look happy, not at all. He furrowed his brow and stared daggers into Izuku, who fidgeted uncomfortably under his piercing gaze. "Yes," Inko replied. She laid the brochures of quirklessness on the dining table for them to look at. Hisashi took one look at those papers and slammed his fist on the table. "Absolutely not," he shouted. "I refuse to have a quirkless child," he practically growled at Inko. Izuku didn't know what to do. He ran to hide in his room as he could overhear shouting and fighting in the dining room. Why was this a bad thing? What had he done wrong? Was there something he could have said or done that could have prevented this whole mess? Izuku didn't know nor have any answers for his questions. Instead he curled up in his bed with his favorite all-night blanket and cried himself to sleep that night, the sounds of loud voices vibrating off the walls practically being a lullaby for him. The next morning after the fiasco of yesterday came, Izuku went up to do his normal routine, only the house was a lot more quiet than usual. When he went to the kitchen he saw there was no breakfast anywhere. Izuku thought, but maybe mom was too tired or forgot to make something. Yeah, that's it. She's had a lot of stress these past few hours. Izuku went to get cereal instead. Since he was still too young to touch the stove, he remembered trying to make eggs one time for his mom, but they ended up burning and melted into the pan. He felt so bad about it, but she had insisted it was okay and to not do it again until he was older to try again. The memory was a comforting one, as he chewed on the dry cereal and let his mind wander to where his mom could possibly be. He made sure to eat quickly so he could get prepared for school that day, and he would have to tell Kaken about his predicament. By the time Izuku finished his breakfast and got ready for school, he still hadn't seen his mom. Odd. Izuku wandered around the house checking each room to try to find her. After everywhere turned up no result, he timidly walked to her door and slowly opened it to look inside. He saw the lights were off, but the sunlight from that morning was shining through the windows, so the room wasn't dark. On the side of the bed, he saw his mother bent over with hands in her face while she cried. "Mama, what's wrong?" Izuku asked, now curious and worried. Inko instantly looked up and glared at him. "It's your fault," she accused. "Hissa, she left last night and it's your fault." What does she mean? Daddy left and it was my fault? Izuku thought. "Mama dash. Get out, and go to school by yourself today. I can't stand looking at you right now," she said with a harsh tone. Izuku crept backwards, eyes stinging with tears as he tried to wrap his mind around what he was just told. Everything was so confusing. Why would Daddy leave because he didn't have a quirk? Why wasn't everything the same as it had been just a few days ago? What did he do wrong? Still, he had to go to school. He knew where his school was, so it wasn't that bad of a trip, just lonely. He put on his backpack and shoes and headed in the direction of his school. "Ha!" Kaken let out an exasperated noise. "Quirkless." "Yes." Izuku replied shyly, hands fisted into his shirt, tightly gripping the fabric as he looked at Katsuki's eyes. "Teach, I always knew you'd be useless," Katsuki replied, shoving the boy down beneath him. "Kaken!" Izuku cried out, suddenly feeling the hard dirt beneath him. Izuku looked up as the blonde smirked and let off a testing pop from his hand, using his explosion quirk. "Useless Izuku." He spat at the younger boy. Izuku kept his eyes trained to the ground now, feeling even smaller than before. He could hear his classmates laughing and mocking at him. Some people called out, "Quirkless loser," while others began whisper shouting, "Stay away from him, or you'll become quirkless too." Why did things change? He was still the same as before. Why did everyone treat him differently? Izuku cried to himself and wished the day would end already. Things didn't get better, actually, they got worse. A day didn't go by that Izuku wasn't reminded of his place in the world. He learnt fast that quirkless people got nothing, they did nothing, they were nothing. Of no use to society, no use to anyone. The only thing they were good for was being used to test what quirked kids could do with their powers on a human, though with the way they treated him, he doubted they saw him as anything close to human. His mother became distant and cold towards him too. She blamed him for Hisashi leaving and threw things at him if he was becoming annoying or taking up too much space. She threw out everything he owned, save for some clothing and a few choice items he quickly learned to hide from her, such as his notebooks and all-might blanket. Izuku was 8 now. He knew how to listen for footsteps in the house, and he learnt when he could sneak out of his room to get food without disturbing Inko. He would sometimes see strange men passed out on their couch, but he chose to ignore it. He rarely got to ever talk to Inko that didn't involve fighting, crying, or shouting, so when his mom walked into his room one Sunday afternoon to offer to take him somewhere, he was weary but hopeful and jumped at the opportunity. "Brat, come here," Inko demanded. Izuku quickly got up from the floor where he was doing his homework and walked to Inko, head down looking at the floor. "Yes'm?" he asked. He learnt not to call her mom after she threw a glass bottle at him, yelling to, "Never call me that again." "Take this," she said, shoving a yellow backpack in his face. "And fill it with everything you need. I'm gonna drop you off somewhere for a few days," she stated, before turning around and stomping off, not waiting to hear her son's reaction. Izuku looked at the worn-out yellow bag. He figured she had found it in storage somewhere. He sat down and opened the zippers to inspect it. It had crumbs at the bottom and a few pencils in one of the zippers, but otherwise, it was empty. That was odd. I wonder where Inko is taking me. Izuku thought to himself. Regardless, he had a task to do, which was to gather everything he needed for wherever she was taking him. He decided to pack his clothes, since he didn't know how long he was going to be staying at this place. He was able to get the basic clothing needs down, 3 separate outfits. He reached underneath his mattress to get out his notebooks, which there were only 3 now because Kaken had exploded all the other ones he brought to school. He also learned very quickly not to bring anything he cared about to school, lest it get caught in the crossfire between Kaken and the bullies. He reached underneath his bed to pull out the All Might blanket, because he didn't know if the place he would be staying at would have blankets or things to keep him warm. It was a thin fleece blanket with a photo of All Might standing proud on top of a rooftop. It had been well loved, as the photo was showing signs of fading. Next, Izuku decided to get his toothpaste and toothbrush from his bathroom, last minute remembering to grab a hairbrush too. He folded the blanket as small as it could go and arranged the backpack in a way to leave as much room as possible so he could fit everything inside it. He was still running low on space. Seeing his limited space, he thought about food. Would he need food? He didn't think so. If Inko was dropping him off somewhere, it would be reasonable to assume that the place would have food. He thought he should ask her for confirmation, but quickly shot the idea down, not wanting to enrage her with his useless and stupid questions. It couldn't hurt to take some food, would it? He thought to himself, opening his door and going to the kitchen. There he was able to find some small food that he could fit in the backpack: apples, chips, jerky. It was more snack items than actual food, but anything he could fit he would take. He carried his small haul into his room and fit it in the backpack. Izuku zipped the backpack with some effort and got to his feet. Because most of the things in there were fabric, the backpack wasn't that heavy, just bulky. "I'm ready when you are, Mem," Izuku called out, looking for his mom. She opened her door and walked past him. "Took you in long enough, brat. Get in the car," she stated. Izuku looked down again, feeling his heart drop. He hated it when she called him that. He longed for the days before the doctor's appointment. Why couldn't he have lied and said Izuku did have a quirk? Sure, he would have to prove it at some point, but putting up a game of pretend would have been better than this. Still, Izuku followed behind his mom and got in the back seat of the car, gripping his newly acquired yellow backpack and looking out the car window to watch the streets pass by. Mom had been driving for ages. It had already been 20 minutes and she still kept going. Izuku debated asking her if she knew where she was going, or how much longer it would be until they got to their destination, but he knew if he said a single word she would lash out and strike him. So, Izuku stayed put and fidgeted with the straps on the backpack. "We're here," Inko said flatly, opening the doors and getting out. Izuku quickly opened his passenger door and slid out from the vehicle. What he saw was an alley? Izuku looked around his surroundings. The buildings looked old and run down. There was a noticeable lack of people and it stunk. Ma'am, where are we?" Izuku asked timidly. Inko glared at him for his mistake but started walking back to the car. "Stay here for me. I'll be back in a few days for you, so you better not go anywhere. Got that?" Inko replied, ignoring Izuku's question. "Oh, of course." Izuku quickly replied, waving his hands in front of him. "But why? I mean, where do I go?" Inko didn't reply to him. She got in the car and instantly locked the doors before speeding off. Izuku watched as the car grew smaller and smaller into the distance. His heart hurt, his head hurt. He didn't want to believe his mom would drop him off in the middle of nowhere and leave him there. How long would she be gone? Was there someone he was supposed to meet? Maybe he was supposed to go somewhere? Izuku decided he would cling to his backpack and explore the alleyway he was dumped into. It's okay, she'll be back in a few days like she said she would. She'll be back and explain how she just needed some time to herself, and everything would go back to normal again, right? Izuku had taken it upon himself to explore the area he was left at, and he learned some things. Firstly, there was a lot of crime, or at least what he suspected to be crime. He had noticed people in shady outfits meeting behind buildings exchanging favors or money for things inside of little bags. Secondly, there appeared to be no actual buildings that weren't shady or run down. He couldn't find any stores other than gas stations that alone looked like he'd be mugged at knife point if he went inside those. When Izuku checked out the alley he was left at, There was no one waiting for him, no one took him inside and told him where he could sleep. It seemed like Inko just dropped him off somewhere random and left him there to fend for himself. But Mom, Inko wouldn't do that, right? I'm sure there's somewhere I need to go, I just have to find it. Izuku thought hopefully. The day was not long. Soon the heavy clouds of nightfall began marching its way onto the scene. Izuku needed someplace to stay while he waited for Inko to come back for him. He started to check all the buildings around the area, avoiding people as best as he could. Whenever he did run into somebody, they usually ignored his existence or stared daggers at him, as if challenging him to fight them. Izuku kept his gaze down on his feet when that happened, to show he meant no harm. As much as he wanted to keep his eyes locked on his shoes, he needed to be on high alert with the area he was left in. Izuku saw a chain-link fence he could climb over. Doing so with some effort, he was able to find a building with holes in the wall. The door had long since been busted open. He saw graffiti spray paint on the walls and the flooring had long since rotted away, but it had a ceiling and some protection from the elements, so it was home enough for Izuku. Izuku propped up his backpack, took out his all-might blanket, and huddled in the corner of a closet inside of the house, using his backpack as a makeshift pillow and draped the thin fleece over his body, as he stared at the ground and felt the undeniable feeling of the all-too-familiar loneliness creep up him. Maybe Inko will be back for me tomorrow, Izuku thought to himself as he drifted off to sleep. Inko, in fact, was not back that morning. Or the next morning, or the morning after that. Actually, she hadn't been back for what Izuku thought must have been a month, but after a few days he quickly lost track of time. The only thing on his mind had been survival at that point, because he ate all the food he brought with him. He had to find water and food elsewhere. He discovered a restaurant some ways away that he could dig around for leftover food in the garbage bin. Sure, it wasn't healthy, and it contained so many risks. But anything was better than nothing at this point. Izuku had opted for avoiding people at all costs, and no one had found his shelter, except for that one time when a teenager with black hair came through one of the broken windows. He smelt of ash and smoke, and Izuku cowered in the closet, far back as possible, watching the man with all too many burn scars lay on the floor and start ranting to himself. Izuku tried to remain as still and quiet as possible as to not attract the man to his location. Soon enough he was able to hear the stranger leave the next morning, and he hadn't come back since, which Izuku counted as the only lucky thing he would have happened to him for that week. I need to find food here soon. Hunger is becoming so unbearable now, Izuku thought to himself. He grabbed the yellow backpack and stuffed it to the far back of the closet, draping some torn sheets he had found nearby to hopefully cover the backpack in case anybody decided to come in and explore his area. Izuku got up and made his way out of the house. He knew where there was a restaurant that he could go scrooging for scraps in the garbage. His feet landed in front of him. He was on high alert listening to the sounds around him, but he had learned to be used to that feeling of being on constant high alert. He tolerated his high stress levels and anxiety. That being said, Izuku knew he was getting tired of this lifestyle quickly. I just have to wait for Inko to come back and get me. What if she shows up while I'm gone getting food and decides to never come back again? I can't stay gone for too long, Izuku thought, and with that, his pace quickened. Getting to the restaurant, the place was long closed for the night. The only lights that illuminated the area were a few blinking street lamps, and whoever lived nearby had their room light pouring from their windows. Izuku grabbed a wooden box and stood on top of it, gaining access to reach into the dumpster. It stunk bad. God, this escalates though. Even when I still lived with Mom, I didn't have to do this. At most I could beg the teachers for some food, and sometimes they'd listen to me and give me something. That thing's in the way, I need to move it. Oh my God, something wet touched my hand, this is so gross. Izuku pulled out some half-eaten noodles from a styrofoam container. This was so gross. He inspected what he could see given the minimum amount of light. It didn't look too bad, certainly better than nothing. He was less excited about the prospect of using his hands to eat the noodles with, but he hadn't been lucky enough to find any forks that were still in plastic wrapping, so he opted this was the best he could do. He ate the cold noodles and tried his best not to think about what he was doing. If he overthought the safety of eating garbage now, he would no doubt probably throw up. Hey! A loud voice boomed from the end of the alley. Izuku's anxiety spiked to an all-time high within mere seconds. Now that would probably be enough to make him vomit. What the F do you think you're doing? The loud, masculine voice boomed once more, feet stomping quickly towards Izuku. Izuku dropped the box and quickly clambered away from the bin, hands in front of his face and eyes wide. He had to get out of here and now. I'm so sorry, sir. Izuku tried to let out, waving his hands in front of his face and backing up, crouching down to make himself appear smaller than before. Shut the F up. The voice shouted once more. Now the man was standing tall above Izuku while Izuku cowered beneath him. I am so tired of having homeless shits make a mess at my dumpster and make me clean after them. If you want food, you pay for it. Izuku wanted to defend himself, to explain that those people who made messes weren't him, that he had only just came here one other time before and he swore he didn't throw trash outside of the bin, but he couldn't, he physically couldn't speak to defend himself, he was scared. Source. Izuku was a stuttering mess as tears fell from his face. His anxiety still spiked as everything in him told him to run, but he couldn't will himself off the ground. He brought his hands to his face to protect himself just in time as the first punch landed on him. I don't care if you're a child. Izuku closed his eyes and curled in on himself, protecting his vital spots as he accepted his fate. Someone needs to teach you manners. Another blow, this time to his back, the man had kicked him. Useless waste of space. He felt sharp, burning pain along his back. Izuku yelped in surprise, fear, and pain. He looked up at the man who had grown long claws from his hands. He could smell the copper before he saw the red dripping from the man's nails. If you want food so badly, go get a job, wear yourself out if you have to, just don't come back here and steal from me again. Izuku did nothing but cry and shake on the floor, eyes wide yet unseeing. It was like school with Kaken all over again. The burning sensation, the scars, the teasing, the bullying. Maybe he didn't miss it so much anymore. Izuku had to decide between being hurt or being lonely. At least being lonely didn't hurt like this, it only hurt on the inside. The man kicked Izuku again harder. Go away. Izuku didn't want to get up, he couldn't. He was struggling to breathe and he felt nothing but sharp pains and the warmth going down his back. I am not telling you again. This time the man harshly grabbed Izuku by the collar of his shirt and threw him up against the wall, bringing one of his claws close to his throat. And if I ever catch you here again, I won't go so easy on you next time. You're homeless, ain't cha? Got nobody who'll miss you? I could kill you right now and not get in any trouble, but hiding a body isn't fun and it's quite annoying, so don't give me any more reasons to make you into a corpse. Get off my FING property, you aren't welcome here. Izuku could barely hear the man's words, but he got the message quite clearly. When the man released his collar, he wobbled his way out of the alley and quickly set his path to go home, if that's what he could even call it. Turns out, eating dumpster food, having a panic and anxiety attack, and being forcefully shoved against a wall and kicked did in fact make it hard to keep food down. Which is why after a few paces away from the alley, Izuku vomited on the sidewalk. He was a shaking, crying mess. And now, his adventure to the restaurant was useless as he threw up the only meal he had been able to find for days. I just want my mom back. I want my old life back. Why wasn't I born with a quirk? Why did I chase father away? Why was I unlovable? Izuku tried to focus on his breathing as he made his way back. To calm himself down, it didn't work much. He walked through the entrance of the home and quietly made his way to the closet, closing the door and curling under his now very faded all-might blanket and shaking and crying. He cried for what seemed like ages, until somewhere along trying to breathe and trying not to heave stomach acid and bile, he managed to pass out. This was the sixth home, the sixth family, the sixth pair of hands he'd been cycling through ever since he was first abandoned here. Shinso was fed up with it. He knew how these things worked. He would show up to an orphanage, the kids would learn his quirk, call him a villain, and he would spend his days hiding and trying to avoid being hurt by the other kids or even the adults. On the off chance he did manage to get adopted, it took a week at minimum, a month at most, for the family to get scared of him and drag him back to the orphanage. This was the sixth family to have adopted him, and he knew there would be many more after this too. Still, he kept to himself and stayed quiet, making sure never to accidentally activate his quirk. As he was only 9 years old, he didn't have as much control over his quirk as he wished he could have had. He knew if he just gave it more practice he could get better control over it, but no one was keen on the idea of being brainwashed after all. "Welcome home, Shinso," the woman with orange hair greeted. She had a pair of green glasses and a ponytail that held high on her head. Shinso nodded towards her and whispered thank you, before making his way inside. He saw the husband, but he didn't talk to him. That was fine if he didn't want to acknowledge Shinso's existence. It wasn't like it bothered him anymore. He was used to hiding in his room and trying to pretend he didn't exist either. The woman, Mrs. Suzuki, offered Shinso food. She gave a bright smile. Mr. Suzuki still hadn't said a word to either of them. Maybe this place won't be so awful. I should eat what I can now before they get fed up with me, Shinso thought to himself. That thought didn't last long. After Shinso ate and mingled around until nightfall, the husband finally decided to let his presence be known. He got up and grabbed Shinso by the arm. "Sir? What do you need?" Shinso replied, trying to hide the fear from his voice. "You are to sleep where I can't see you and pretend like you don't exist. We only took you in for the government benefits. Don't do anything to make me mad. The rules of the house are simple. You clean, and we feed you. You don't say a demon word because I don't trust that quirk of yours, and we provide you with shelter." Mr. Suzuki replied gruffly. "Why yes, sir," Shinso replied. The man glared at him, not liking the fact Shinso was talking, even if it was just to reply to the man. "I expect you to do the dishes and clean the kitchen tomorrow while I'm at work. Don't make me mad." And with that, the man shoved Shinso inside of a very small room and closed the door. "But this deal wasn't too bad. I clean the house and they feed me. It could be worse." Shinso looked around the room. The bed was a mattress with no sheets that laid on the floor, a blue blanket draped over it, but lacking any pillows. To the left he saw a closet. Opening it revealed no clothes but empty hangers. "Guess I'll have to get my own clothes." Closing the door, he looked out the window of the room. He saw the night sky and the bright moon in front of him. He wished he could go away, find someone to take him in and show him happiness and love, real love that a parent could give to a child, a real bed with pillows, blankets, sheets, and maybe even some comfort items like plushies, even if that was a childish longing. A closet filled with clothes of colors and designs. Maybe he could even one day soar high above the moon as a hero. Shinso rested his head on the edge of the window, staring out at the vast ocean of stars. Stars were long dead. What we saw was just their corpses burning brightly, traveling light years away to show themselves to us. It was oddly poetic in a dramatic way. Shinso wanted to believe these people would be different from all the other foster homes. He wanted to believe if he kept his head down and cleaned, he would avoid trouble. He could get food and pretend he didn't exist. But deep down, he knew it was only a matter of time before they got a special package in the mail of a metal and leather muzzle that prevented Shinso from talking, the contraption that would bite down hard to the sides of his mouth and prevent him from even trying to speak. As if he ever needed something to hold his mouth shut, he could do that on his own. This device wasn't for him. It was for everyone to feel safer being around him, to pride themselves on protecting everyone around him from his villainous quirk. Shinso walked to the bed, lifted the single blue blanket above him and crawled on the mattress, staring out the window as he wished for a better life. The morning sunlight hit his face, crudely awakening the purple-haired boy to morning daylight. He sat up and got ready for his day of cleaning. "Boy!" came a loud voice, no doubt Mr. Suzuki, shouting from the behind the door, now banging it. "Open the door!" Shinso quickly clambered out of bed, now very much awake, opening the door and almost being hit from the man's pounding fist. "Good, you're late. Get to cleaning now. I'm going to work, so everything better be spotless before I come back. Got that?" The man stared at the purple-headed child with malicious intent, daring him to talk back, daring him to stand up for himself. Shinso looked off to the side before quickly returning his gaze. "Yes, sir." The man huffed at that, grabbing his phone and walking out the door. Shinso looked over the room and didn't see the wife anywhere. All right, that was fine. Maybe she went out to work too. Guess I should get started on cleaning the dishes before anything else. Shinso got to work, the water turning hot under his palms, scrubbing away the grime and leftover food, thoroughly cleaning each utensil. Shinso wanted to give these people as few reasons as possible to kick him out. I need to do these first and then I should clean the countertops and the stovetop, then I should try and do the floors. When does Mr. Suzuki get home? Would I have enough time to clean everything? I hope so. Shinso was overthinking everything now. He zoned out in his thoughts as the repetition of warm water flowing from his hands and hitting the bottom of the sink let him think more about what he should do. He was on autopilot when he grabbed one of the knives. His soapy hands mixed with the running water made him fumble the handle of the blade, dropping it. Shinso reflexively shot out his hands to grab the utensil, only realizing once it was firmly in his grasp, he had succeeded in saving the knife from the fall. By grabbing the blade. The running water wasn't the only warm liquid he could feel now. Sheet. Okay, this is fine. I'm sure I can clean this before Mr. Suzuki gets back. Shinso dropped the knife in the sink and held his bleeding hand under the water to clean it. It stung the wound and he saw the water turn red. This is fine. I've dealt with worse injuries before. I shouldn't have been zoning out though, that's what I get. After he washed away most of the blood, he ran his hand under one of the towels as gently as he could. He watched the way the blood slowly pooled back to the surface and stained the towel. See, he's not gonna like me ruining his towel with my blood, is he? Shinso quickly looked around and grabbed a napkin to put pressure on the wound and ran around the house looking for some kind of first aid. He ran into his room first, but quickly realized there was no hidden first aid anywhere. Next he checked the bathroom and under the sink. What kind of person doesn't have first aid in the bathroom? He looked down to see the napkin now turned a appealing red color. Just great. Well, this napkin's trash now. What can I use to stop the bleeding now? Shinso wondered as he ran his hand under the bathroom sink, carefully washing away as much blood as he could. He looked over to the toilet, more specifically, the toilet paper. I could wrap my hand with that as a makeshift bandage. Drying his hands on the towel. There goes another towel. Shinso goes to the toilet and sit on the closed lid, wrapping his hand with the toilet paper tightly enough to stop the bleeding. He kept his right hand's pressure on his wounded left, that way the wound could close on its own and hopefully stop bleeding. Shinso made his way out of the bathroom and decided he should probably prioritize laundry, that way he could hide his blood trail. Nope. Not this room. Shinso explored the whole house trying to locate the laundry room, only to have opened each door and found no such room existed, which means the man probably went somewhere locally to have his clothes washed. Just great. Shinso sighed. He still hadn't found a first aid kit either. Did the man not own anything that could benefit himself in case of emergency? Actually, now that Shinso thought about it, he didn't see much of anything at all. Dusty shelves and books, sure, but nothing that even indicated the man had a wife. No family photos or portraits hung on the walls. The room he had assumed was Mr. Suzuki's had a bed, but it was rather small. It looked like it only held one person on it at most. Where did Mrs. Suzuki sleep? What do you think you're doing, boy? The voice spoke from behind Shinso, making him jump. He was caught quite literally, red-handed. When did you come home? Shinso asked before his mind could catch up with his tongue. And since when were you the one asking questions? Shinso averted his eyes elsewhere. He could feel the tension in the air, thick and heavy as molasses. He quickly realized the situation he was in, and talking back would not help that situation get any better. First I come home to the sound of the sink running and you're not there, and brat, do you even know how much the water bill costs? He steps forward towards Shinso. Shinso stays planted to the ground, keeping quiet. Next thing I know, I see blood all over my hand towels. Shinso looks down at his hand. The toilet paper was showing small flecks of blood now. Great, I'm bleeding through more wrappings. Then I see you in my room. Mr. Suzuki now sounded furious with the purple kid. He raised a massive hand and smacked Shinso across the face. The stinging sensation on his cheek brought all awareness to Shinso, and he suddenly realized just how hard his heart had been pounding. He was struggling to focus on any one thing. He had to respond to Mr. Suzuki. Sorry sir, I didn't know you got home this early. I was trying to dash. I get home when I goddamn feel like it, brat. And dash. Everything happened so fast. Shinso saw the man prepare to strike him again. He saw that massive hand raised, primed and ready to hit him again. Before Shinso even could register what he was doing, he had taken control of the man's mind. Mr. Suzuki was frozen in place, hands slowly lowering as his pupils were stark white and empty, awaiting Shinso's next move, his command. CD sheet, DIFANGF-. This was it, he was done for. When Shinso released the man's mind he would be killed, this was it, he had just left the sink running for who knows how long. He bled all over the house, leaving small paper trails of where he had been and what he had touched, and he had not only accidentally left evidence of where he traveled throughout the rooms, he also was caught leaving his emistress' bedroom, the one place he knew he wasn't allowed to go in. It was an unspoken rule. This was the first day. He had finally found a place where he could pretend he didn't exist at, and he would be rewarded with meals to keep him alive. There was no way the man would let him go without severe punishment now. Maybe I deserve it? Is this what villains like me deserve? The man, Mr. Suzuki, just stood there. Despite the blank expression, Shinso could practically feel the anger radiating off the man. He had two choices. He could release his hold on Mr. Suzuki and accept whatever beatings and punishments were to come his way. He could run. Either Mr. Suzuki gets home way too early for his own good, or he didn't actually go out to work, because when Shinso opened the front door, he swore it could have been around 12 p.m., the man had only been gone for a few hours at most. Maybe he went out to get groceries or something. But then why would he go to work? He had mentioned only wanting me for government benefits, so maybe he hadn't actually had a job? Whatever, this wasn't making any sense. Shinso did order the man to wait in his room and keep the door closed and locked before he escaped though. I don't know how long my quirk will hold on to him. Man, I wish I could have experimented with this quirk, maybe then I could know how to control it better. No point in worrying about it now, I need to get out of here. Which way do I go? Left or right? Shinso stopped on the sidewalk briefly, looking at the left and the right. The left looked like it could lead into a city. He saw buildings and a few structures. To the right he saw a chain-link fence and lots of overgrowth. Right it is, I can hide in the overgrowth and get as far away as possible. If I'm in a city by myself people will just ask where my parents are, I don't want to deal with that again. No time to consider the ups and downs, Shinso ran to the right, deciding he would focus on stealth and his surroundings while he gave his feet the job to move, just move forward and don't look back. The injury to his hand seemed like a cat scratch in comparison to what he imagined Mr. Suzuki doing to him if he got caught. God, I didn't even last a single day? Why couldn't I have been good and didn't screw up this opportunity? The opportunity to be fed and housed just for cleaning? Little brownie just cleaning the house while everyone's away, he could do that, he should have been able to do that. Instead, he quite literally fumbled that opportunity and had gotten caught red-handed in his mistakes. Useless, villain, of course I don't deserve anything good. I just had to ruin the chance, didn't I? Something felt like a pull in Shinso's mind, like a breaking sensation. Shinso felt like he heard a snapping noise, but in his head? Was that my hold on Mr. Suzuki breaking? He might have snapped out of the brainwashing. I guess my quirk has a radius limit? I just hope it's far enough away he won't be able to find me easily. Shinso stopped and hid behind a tree, sitting down for a second to catch his breath, while he was running for his life. To any outsider it would look like he was probably jogging and stopped to take a break. Okay, look around, where can I go from here? His hand radiated in a dull pain. He noticed the bleeding must have stopped because the makeshift bandage on his hand had stopped collecting blood and now it just showed some light red spots on the front. That's one good thing about this mess, I suppose. Shinso couldn't go back the way he came, obviously, so the only direction was right. He could see the road got more cracked and worn, the sidewalk started showing signs of overgrowth, grass and weeds sprouting from the cracks breaking free from the confines of concrete in an effort to survive and grow from their unfortunate circumstance. The buildings looked rather shady too, some had lights on but others were dark, the street lamps had dents in them. Shinso felt like he could practically feel the air thick with villains. This was absolutely the perfect district to go to if you were a villain. Should I go there, then? If I'm a villain? I'm not really a villain, but everyone says my quirk is villainous, so maybe Shinso could fit in here. He could find other people with villainous quirks, and they could take him in and hide him from his foster family, assuming they're kind to children of course. Or he could hide there and at least no one would want to go there because the place looked like a breeding ground for crime, Who would want to risk their safety for some child who had no real family, no one to miss or love him, and had a cursed quirk? It wouldn't be too bad of an area either. I'm going there then. Shinso got up and ran into the rundown part of the city, the place where the flora and modern age tech fought against one another in the game of survival, and due to the low maintenance, the flora was winning in that regard. He made sure to duck and weave around the area. He didn't want a single path from where he left to where he was headed to be as readily available because the last thing he wanted was his technically foster dad sending the police out to find him and they drag him back to that horrible place. "Man, my feet are killing me," Shinso whined. He was still in the rundown district. He had spent his day scouting the areas, looking for potential hiding spots, taking note of who owned what territory or what areas looked a little too scary for him to get near. He had encountered some people but they either ignored him or glared at him so hard it made him fear for his safety, though they seemed content with just scaring the poor boy into place. He looked up at the sky and took note how the clouds were getting thicker and darker than this morning. "It's going to rain soon." He grumbled. He had to find shelter from the rain, preferably before it hit. Shinso was able to keep to the sidewalk, still eyeing buildings. Whatever structures he did find though looked to be inhabited, and he didn't exactly want to walk into someone else's property, though he doubted anyone legally owned any of the buildings here. He rounded a corner and spotted a chain-linked fence and a run-down house over the side. He didn't see any lights were on and he thought he could make out some kind of floral growth on the house, like moss or weeds slowly reclaiming the land. "Let's check it out." When Shinso clambered over the fence and made his way into the home, which was easy, given the fact some walls had holes in them that he could squeeze himself through, he was hearing a familiar noise, a heartbreaking sound that Shinso knew all too well, a feeling he promised to bury deep within himself and never let out again. Heartbreaking, desperate, and lonely sobbing. Actually, it was more than sobbing. The person making the sound seemed to be struggling to breathe. The person was going to pass out if they kept breathing in and out fast like that. Passing out during a panic attack was not fun, Shinso knew from experience. "Hey, are you okay?" Shinso spoke out, now scanning the room to try and find the source. The carpet was definitely stained by natural effects. The weeds knew no bounds as they clumped together from floorboards and made their presence known by the sheer amount of green that was inside the house. The voice didn't reply to Shinso as he expected, but it seemed like Shinso didn't have any effect on it. The breathing was rapid and shallow still. "Okay, sorry to personal space, but I need to help now." Shinso silently apologized for barging in on the person, the kids, panic attack. He was able to locate the noise coming from the closet in the empty bedroom. Shinso didn't have time to look at the surroundings of the closet as he made his way to the shivering, crying ball of green in front of him. He sat down on the floor and took the kid's hands, making the kid jump and breath quicken even more. His eyes looked torn and broken. "Hey, breathe with me, okay? If you keep hyperventilating, you will pass out." Aye. The green kid stuttered, struggling to form any cohesive form of communication as he was struggling to focus on one thing. "Don't talk, just breathe, okay? I won't hurt you, I promise." Shinso took the green kid's hands and he put them on his chest, taking in exaggeratedly long and deep breaths in and slow, controlled breaths out. The kid looked terrified, but Shinso could tell he was trying to match his pace. "That was good. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, Shinso counted, watching the green eyes in front of him. "Just like that, okay? Let's do it again. 1, 2, 3. He timed each word with his breathing, saying 1, holding his breath, releasing it as he says 2, and starting again with 3. Keeping his voice steady and gentle, slowly guiding the kid down back to his senses. Once the kid's breathing was back to normal, he looked even more exhausted than Shinso could have imagined. "How you doing, kid?" "Dizzy, hungry, he stuttered. He still hadn't gotten off the floor, but Shinso was sure if he tried, he would definitely fall over. "All right, I'll go get water for you, okay? Are you all right if I leave you alone for a bit? I'll be back, I promise." "Okay, water, where would I find water? The house certainly didn't have running water, and I didn't take any water with me. The rain? No, rainwater isn't safe for you to drink, but where am I going to find water?" "It is a possibility, but..." Shinso looked at the kid on the floor, who clutched a thin blanket, and he was absolutely exhausted and he knew that the kid wouldn't be able to take care of himself right now. And wait, was that blood? Wait, you're bleeding. Shinso said, now more worried for the human in front of him than before, if that were somehow possible. Quirk, he let out. Again closing his eyes, don't wanna talk about it. Okay, yeah, that's fine. I'll see if I can find any first aid. I'll be back, I promise. Shinso promised. He wanted the kid to know he was serious. There came no audible reply, but a shaky head nod. That was fine. Shinso would go out and find someone to help him. He made his way out of the house, turning around to memorize the building so he wouldn't get lost. I don't have any money to buy first aid and water, time is running out, and I don't know anyone who will give me water and medical supplies, but I do think I know a way to get those things. Shinso ran to the nearest building that had light pouring out one of the windows. He could hear voices inside. Preparing himself the best he could, he knocked on the door. The voices stopped talking and started questioning. Shinso thought he heard a few stray words of, "Who is that?" and "I didn't invite anyone else." He was going to do it. He was going to use his quirk and be a villain, just like everyone said he would be. But if I'm using my quirk to help someone else, am I a villain? Just as Shinso was about to knock again, the door swung open. "What do you want, kid?" The person in front of him was female in appearance. She had long brown hair and blue eyes. She seemed to be a teenager or young adult if he had to guess. "See, can I have some water? And first aid?" Why should I? That was all he needed to hear. If she wouldn't cooperate, then Shinso would have to be the villain, at least this once. "Please, get me some bottled water, first aid, and any food you can carry," Shinso demanded. The woman's blank stare didn't match his commanding purple eyes, as they turned around and robotically walked back inside. Shinso could feel the tug on his mind, and a slight headache forming in the back of his head. Okay, maybe food wasn't part of the plan, but seeing as I didn't bring any and I don't think the kid has much, if any, food, this is the best opportunity I'll get. "Hey, Akira, what are you doing?" a masculine voice called. The brunette, Akira, didn't reply. She just returned to the front door. She had 2 plastic bottles of water, a first aid kit, and some fruits. Shinso took the items, struggling a bit to fit everything before replying. "Thank you so much. Now go back inside and tell everyone that everything is fine and there's nothing to worry about. Go about the rest of your day now, and I'm sorry for making you do this, but my friend's going to die without it." Was the kid his friend? He didn't even know his name, but Shinso considered him a friend. Either way, he had a promise to fulfill. "Hey, I'm back, like I promised I would be," Shinso called out when he got back into the house. No response came, but he could hear a bit of heavy breathing from inside the closet. Good, he didn't go anywhere at least. Shinso made his way to the kid, sitting beside him and handing him water. "Drink this, it'll help you recover." The kid shakingly took the bottled water from the purple hair's hands. He took a few sips from their water and a couple deeper breaths before responding. "Thank you. I'm sorry, what was your name again?" "Oh, my name's Shinso Hitoshi, and yours?" "Midoriya Izuku." "Nice to meet you, Midoriya." The two sat in silence again, Shinso offering the timid boy some of the food, which he took with caution before eating it. "Are you all right with showing me your back? I saw it was bleeding. I got first aid. I'd like to help treat it if that's okay with you." "This fine. It doesn't hurt, really." Midoriya's eyes darted quickly to Shinso's hand before looking back on the ground. "USH should treat your hand." Shinso looked at his hand. It had stopped bleeding and probably wouldn't even need stitches, plus it didn't look as bad as what he could see Midoriya having on his back. "No, my hand has closed enough to stop bleeding. Your back looks like it might still be bleeding though. Let me help you." "Why? Why?" "Yeah, why help me? I'll be okay." The way Midoriya spoke sounded defeated, like Shinso could leave right now and he would have been expecting it. "Because you're hurt, isn't that reason enough?" Midoriya was quiet for a bit, before sighing and turning around, taking off his shirt or what was left of it at least. Shinso saw the 3 claw marks raked across his back, along with some other, older, scars and wounds. He felt bad for the boy. Grabbing the first aid, he started working on his claw wounds though. "So, Shinso started, wanting to fill the uncomfortable space around them. How did you get hurt? I don't want to talk about that right now, I'm sorry. Don't be sorry, it's okay, you don't have to apologize. Shinso grabbed some cotton ball and dabbed them with disinfectant. This might sting a bit, sorry. It's okay, I can handle it, thank you. He dabbed the wound with the ball, the cotton soaking up the blood, making Shinso have to go through quite a few just to clean everything. Like the boy promised, he really did handle it well, not even flinching. Why are you alone? Shinso asked. Because I'm useless. Shinso's heart felt a pang of hurt, he understood that. It's okay, I'm alone too. I'm sorry, Shinso. This conversation isn't doing much. What are some things I can talk about? Hobbies maybe? What kinds of things does he like? Wait, is he even okay with those pronouns? I forgot to ask. So what pronouns are you comfortable with? Oh, he/him, but Midoriya looked off to the side. He was going to let the words die on his tongue if Shinso let him. He wouldn't. But what? I want to make you comfortable, Midoriya. If there's something I should avoid, let me know. I promise to respect you. Shinso tried, hoping Midoriya could trust him. Well, it's kind of stupid, I guess, but I don't like being referred to as an it. Sorry, it's dumb, I know. That's not dumb. Why would you think your desires are something dumb? If you don't want to be called something, I promise I won't call you that, okay? Thank you, Shinso. Of course. What about you? I mean, what are your pronouns? Oh, he/they. Shinso replied. Now that the wound was clean, Shinso got bandages and started wrapping them around Midoriya's chest. That's cool, thank you, Shinso. Huh, don't know what's so cool about it, but you're welcome, Midoriya. Oh, well, it's just, no one really trusts me with anything, so, thank you for trusting me with this. Shinso looked at Midoriya. He couldn't describe the feeling or why he got it all of a sudden, but he wanted to protect this boy more than anything now. I think your bandages are done. Shinso replied, looking away from the Viridian eyes. Oh, thank you, Shinso. Midoriya replied. Shinso didn't know what to do now. He didn't want to leave, but he also didn't know if the kid would want him to stay either. Just as Shinso was thinking of getting up, he heard it. Rain must have started a while ago while Shinso was talking with Midoriya, because he got up to peek outside of the closet and saw how the rain was starting to pick up in speed and intensity. You good if I stay here for the night? Oh, yeah, that's fine. Awesome. Shinso decided to walk out of the closet and look around at the house. The windows were mostly broken, a few still intact. The floors were rotting away, the walls didn't seem too great either. The roof had some holes, but for the most part it did keep them safe if you stood in the right areas at least. It was a single-floor house, so it had no upstairs. Shinso looked into the bathroom and was not at all surprised there was no running water from the sink, and the toilet also had nothing in it. The mirror was cracked, but he could see himself clearly. He was very tired, his purple hair looked tangled and matted, and he had a few bruises but nothing dire. Shinso made his way back to the closet eventually. So, why a closet? I mean, out of everywhere in the house you choose to sleep in the closet? Oh, it just feels safe here. Nothing can sneak up behind me and I can see a clear view of the house from here. It also protects me from the rain and wind. Shinso thought about that. It was a good idea to hide and not be seen since anyone could barge inside whenever they wanted to. The night dragged on, and the repetitive noise of the rain hitting the concrete outside and the wooden walls of the house was starting to make the two kids drowsy. Midoriya yawned and looked at Shinso. The purple-haired boy was also laying on the floor in front of him. The closet was one of those walk-in closets so they could comfortably lay down together without making contact, as the two didn't know how close was too close for right now, not wanting to get into each other's personal spaces. They shared a lot in common. Midoriya wondered what else they had in common. Before he allowed sleep to take hold of both of them, he wanted to ask his own question, since Shinso asked so many about him. Midoriya was too nervous though. He looked up at the boy and back to the floor. He fidgeted with his hands and twisted his all-might blanket around. What if he was being annoying? Would it be rude to ask Shinso questions too? What if he asked one too many and Shinso decided he was the same annoying Deku that Kaken thought he was? called him creepy and a stalker and wanted to leave. I guess it wouldn't be that much of a difference since everyone always left him, but I just want to be able to have someone in my life that doesn't leave, but that's selfish. Should I ask the question? No, it's probably really dumb and a waste of time. Besides, Shinso was probably trying to sleep right now and… You trying to give an oral presentation or something? Shinso asked, having a slight laugh to his words, as he looked at Midoriya's green eyes to sense his reaction. Eek! Midoriya jumped, hiding himself under his All Might blanket and rolling into a ball. Sorry. Ignore that. Go to sleep. You're probably really tired and wasted enough of your time on me today. You're probably really annoyed with men thinkum dumb ban dash. Slow down. Breathe. You wanted to ask me a question, right? Go ahead, you're fine and I don't mind it. But, you should go to bed, it's a dumb question anyways. Midoriya mumbled, now coming out from his not-so-well-hidden All Might ball. I'm pretty sure I have insomnia. I won't be going to sleep anytime soon, feel free to ask me anything. Midoriya stared at Shinso, looking for any hint of a lie, anything that could prove his statement false. He found none. It's just I was wondering, Midoriya fidgeted with hands, looking everywhere and anywhere around him, that is, except Shinso's eyes. He made no attempt at eye contact as he spoke. What's your favorite pro hero? Midoriya asked in a light voice. Shinso could barely hear it over the rain outside, but he did make it out. Favorite pro hero? Who was my favorite? I never really thought of it before, no hero ever came to rescue me, but then again I do have a villain's quirk, maybe I don't deserve to be rescued and that's why I'm here now. But if I were rescued I probably wouldn't have met Izuku, so maybe it wasn't all bad? Apparently Shinso was taking too long to answer, because Izuku started rambling again. I mean, it's a dumb question, I'm sorry. I just really like heroes and I thought we could talk about them if you wanted to. But it is stupid, I agree, I should just… No, dang it Midoriya, your interests aren't dumb. Shinso replied in a serious, yet gentle tone. I'm sorry it's taking a while for me to answer. I never considered a favorite before and I just need to think about who it would be. Oh sorry. Midoriya mumbled, looking down to the floor, gripping his blanket again. Don't be, while I think on a response, what about you? Who's your favorite? Izuku looked up into Shinso's eyes for a moment. He thought he saw a sparkle in those green eyes of his, before he once again downcasted them to the floor. Well, I really like All Might, he's always smiling no matter how bad the situation gets. I know I should try to be smiling right now too. He said, letting his face go into a wobbling smile. Shinso could see tears at the edges of his eyes before he let his face drop to the floor again. He's really strong and he protects everybody, but I know I could never be a hero like him. Because I'm quirkless. But I also really like Eraserhead too. Eraserhead? Are they new? Nope. Midoriya said, now slightly jumping off the floor. He propped himself up against the wall and got a big grin on his face. Shinso was surprised at the sudden mood change, but he wasn't complaining. He's an underground hero who rarely ever gets interviewed by the media. Because he's underground, not a lot of people know about him or what he does. He usually works at night and it's hard to ever see him because he wears all black, but I swear I saw him once. When I had to walk back home by myself late at night because Inko refused to pick me up from school and bullies had chased me until I got lost. I swear I saw him, swinging through the rooftops on patrol. I believe you, Shinso said with a smile on his face. And his quirk lets him turn off other people's quirks and he fights them using a scarf. He essentially fights other people quirkless. Isn't that so cool? There's not much about him online because he gets overshadowed by other heroes like Hawks or Best Jeanist, but I'd bet he could be in top 15, no, top 10 if he were to go public. Though I don't think he could beat Endeavor or All Might, so I don't think that would make him get into top 3, but it would be interesting to see how the population would react if one of the big three was essentially quirkless. I wonder if it would change other people's minds about. Midoriya began to mumble under his breath. Shinso couldn't make it out this time between the rain and now, lightning. That's really interesting. I'm surprised I never heard of him before, but if he's underground then I'm even more surprised that you have. Shinso said, praising the boy. Midoriya was on the floor again, using his yellow backpack as a makeshift pillow. He clutched his all-might blanket close to him as he closed his eyes and snuggled into it. It's easy to find what kinds of heroes there are when you dig around online. There's more heroes than people recognize that are just avoiding media attention, and even more vigilantes. He offered. They sat in comfortable silence once more. Shinso was still thinking about his favorite hero when he realized it. It took him way too long to realize who his favorite was, but when he did, he mentally compared them to other pros and concluded no one else could top him. "Hey Mito, you still awake?" Shinso asked in a low tone. Midoriya replied drowsily. It was clean he was ready to pass out any moment. "I know my favorite hero." Present Mike." Midoriya looked up at Shinso and grinned. "Present Mike is amazing. His quirk is really unique and it's interesting to see how he fights. Why is he your favorite?" Shinso looked off to the side, staring out into the darkness of the main bedroom and the rain persistently shaking the earth beneath them. The only light that came was from the sparks of lightning in the distance that briefly illuminated the night sky. "He has a quirk somewhat like mine, and he was able to become a hero with it." Shinso replied with admiration. He had a quirk that had to do with his voice. It was easy to relate to him when Shinso had a similar quirk factor too. If Present Mike could become a pro hero with a quirk like that, maybe Shinso could too. Midoriya nodded at that. It looked like he wanted to talk more, but sleep took hold of him before he could. Shinso stared off into the night outside, waiting for sleep to claim him next. "Maybe a hero never did come to rescue me, maybe they never will, but I feel strangely attached to Midoriya. We're both lost and just want to feel safe again, have a home, a real home, one day." The next morning the rain had stopped. Actually it looked like it hadn't rained at all, well on the outside that is. On the inside everything was still soppy and damp, but Izuka figured it was normal given the state their shelter was when he first found it. He looked over and was surprised to see the purple-haired boy still sleeping next to him. "Why is he still here? I figured he would have left by now. Actually, why did he even bother to help me? He seemed really concerned for me last night." Izuka decided that the boy just wanted to use him for his shelter because there was no way someone would want to be kind to him without there being an ulterior motive behind their actions. Actually, if that were true, then why would he even bother helping me clean my wounds in the first place? And get me food and water? Surely if he only wanted the shelter, he could have easily kicked me out. Not like I would have put up any fight anyways. Maybe he didn't want to have a guilty conscience about it? That could be it, but I'm still confused. Shinso woke up sleepily looking over at Midoriya, who was sitting on the floor with his hand to his mouth to muffle the noises coming from it as he looked very much lost in thought. "Hey, good morning. You're awake. I didn't think you'd wake up. I'm sorry if I was being too loud. They'll try to stop my mumbling more. I didn't mean to wake you up. I just don't really realize when I'm doing it, so it's hard to control, but I am very so dash." "Sheesh, I just said good morning. I don't need a whole apology thesis." Shinso replied in a joking manner, lifting his head up from the floor and sitting up next to Midoriya. Sorry. Gee, good morning, Shinso. You don't have to apologize, it's okay. Right, sorry. Ugh, you're killing me. Sordash. If you apologize one more time, Midoriya, I'm gonna come over there and fight you. What? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to anger Y dash. That's it. Shinso got up and lightly tackled the boy. He knew he was still injured from last night and he started laughing, ruffling his curly hair as Midoriya fought back, biting at Shinso's arm. You're not actually mad, are you? Course not. Come on, fight back. Something seemed to sparkle in Midoriya's eyes, as if he were determined now. Okay. Midoriya wrestled Shinso around the closet, the two still being careful and very much aware of the other's injuries, to ensure they didn't accidentally reopen the wounds to do any lasting damage. Midoriya wasn't fully expecting this, but the way Shinso fought with him reminded him a lot of how Kaken and he would play, well, before his quirk came in, that is. Shinso was good at rolling around on the floor. He was able to get low and maneuver his way in front of Izuku and dashed out into the main bedroom, Izuku tailing behind him. The boys laughed as they chased each other and fought, but eventually they were getting tired of the game and they flopped on the ground to catch their breaths. Ha, you're so wild, Shinso, Izuku said with a big grin on his face. His hair was still messy from how many times Shinso got behind him to ruffle it. Says you. Seriously, who bites people? Don't they tell you to not do that in kindergarten? Izuku laughed at that, and Shinso smiled at hearing him laugh. It was a better sound than his tears. The two enjoyed their company for a few minutes before Midoriya shot up and went to the closet. Shinso watched him go, with a confused expression adorning his features. Midoriya came back with a new shirt on. This one was black with a graphic that had long since faded and chipped away. What it used to be, he couldn't tell. Midoriya made his way to the exit of the house before turning to look at Shinso, who was still watching curiously. I have to go somewhere. Izuku looked down and glanced outside before looking back. He still didn't keep eye contact with Shinso, but he did try to. You can come with, if you want. I mean, you don't have to if you don't want to. It's fine if you want to stay here or leave. You don't need to come with me if you don't want to, or if you want to leave and dash. Calm down, Motormouth, I'll join you, not like I have anything else to do. Shinso replied, grinning at the way Midoriya looked away. Dash. If you apologize, I swear. Midoriya went quiet before grinning and whispering a thanks and went outside. Shinso was pretty certain they were lost. He didn't know where Midoriya was going, but he took a lot of turns, went down different streets and buildings, and kept muttering to himself the whole way. He would have loved to pay attention to what he was saying, but unfortunately he was too quiet, and the words were too jumbled together to make any cohesion from it. As much as Shinso wanted to ask where they were going, he also didn't want to make him too uncomfortable, so he tailed behind and only offered suggestions when it seemed like Midoriya needed them. This is it. Midoriya exclaimed, picking up pace. He looked both ways down the sidewalk before sitting on the ground and leaning against a wall. Shinso mimicked his actions, but he was even more confused than before. What is it? This is just the outside of an alleyway. There's nothing here. Well, yeah. Midoriya fidgeted with his shirt for a bit, avoiding eye contact once more. I mean, I know that, but... He took a deep breath and Shinso slowly approached him and sat beside him, giving him a concerned look. Take your time, Shinso said. Midoriya took a few more deep breaths before starting again. This is where my mom left me. She dropped me off here and she told me she would be back only a few days, and she'll be back, he said, trying to feign confidence, but Shinso could see the worry behind those green eyes. How long ago was this? Actually, I'm not sure. I lost track of days. I think maybe a week. Shinso gave him a sympathetic look. He was concerned, and he didn't think Midoriya's mom would come back. I've been coming here every day to wait for her until nightfall. She could come back any moment and I need to be there when she does. Midoriya explained. Mido, Shinso said softly. And she would never lie to me about that. I couldn't be there yesterday because I was hurt. Mido, Shinso tried again. She probably just needed some time by herself. I'm sure she did. She deserves a break from me after all. I don't hold that against her. Midoriya was crying now. He had a wobbling smile as he brought his knees to his chest and made himself smaller. Mido, shoo, it's okay, I'm here, Shinso said, slowly and carefully reaching out to the kid. That way, if Izuku showed any signs of discomfort or not wanting to be touched, he could react, and that would be okay. But he didn't. So Shinso continued his approach. He gave Midoriya a comforting hug. He gave one back and sobbed into it. She'll be back, she promised she would, and when she does, I'll be good. I won't complain or cry when she hits me. Maybe she'll love me again, like she used to before that day. It'll be okay. I'm here. Please try to breathe. Where did this apparent sudden hatred of Izuku come from? Shinso didn't want to pry if his friend wasn't ready to talk about it. He would wait however long it took, and if he never got to know, then that was that and he would accept it. But damn it, if I'm going to accept this hyperventilation he's doing. He needs to breathe properly. You can talk to me about it if you want to. If you don't, that's okay too. For now, just breathe and focus, okay? Sniff, okay. Sniff. We'll wait for your mom together, okay? Emchum. The two sat in comfortable silence. Shinso kept watch for them, looking around at the people that walked past every so often. They didn't seem to give a second thought at the presence of children though, luckily. Shinso didn't want to think what would happen if anyone did take an interest in them. Sorry if you don't want to, but can you talk about yourself? You don't have to if you don't want, it's just, I don't understand you. Midoriya said, in a quiet and timid voice. Oh, sure, let's see, Shinso thought where to begin. Well, for starters, I'm 9 years old. I've been in and out of a lot of foster homes. The last one I was in was my 6th one before I ran away. My birthday is July 1st, I like cats, and I guess I'm just looking for a place that won't hurt me. That's really interesting, Shinso, thank you. I guess I'm also a villain now? What? Huh. Why would you be a villain? Because of my quirk, everyone says I'm destined to be a villain because of it, and I had to use it to get you the stuff yesterday, so because I did that I'm now a villain, isn't that how it works? I'm not sure, but why would having a quirk determine your fate as a villain? Shinso had caught Midoriya's attention fully now. He looked very serious at Shinso, and concerned. I don't want to tell you my quirk. Shinso was the one to break eye contact this time and look away. Why not? Because then you won't want to talk with me anymore. He replied, as if it were an obvious statement. Why would I stop talking to you because of your quirk? You really don't understand, do you? Clearly not. Midoriya replied, adding a little laugh at the end to try and keep the conversation lighthearted. He smiled and tilted his head to the side, and held Shinso's hand. Shinso sighed. I should be honest with him, it won't be any different when he stops talking to me and makes me go away, or if he runs away himself. Wouldn't be the first time I lost friends that way. My quirk is brainwashing. When people reply to me I can take control over their mind. The issue is I haven't had much practice with it and I accidentally took control over my 6th foster parent. I knew he would be mad so I ran away. Once people know about my quirk they stop talking to me because they're scared. Shinso looked over to Midoriya, who looked starstruck. He should have expected that, but Shinso was preparing for the hurt that would come next. The moment Midoriya would realize what he said and either tell him to leave or get up and run away from him, maybe he would fight him? He wasn't sure what the greenhead's reaction would be, and that was the worst part. I guess you'll stop talking to me too now. I told you it's a villain's dash. That's so cool. Midoriya shouted in excitement. So you can take control over anyone? That could help out in so many situations. You could be able to assist in hostage situations. You could also stop villains in their tracks and make it easier for other heroes to come and take them into custody. Wait, can you control multiple people's minds at once? Would you be able to turn villains against each other? It sounds like a really versatile quirk if you train with it. Of course, that's assuming you want to be a hero. If you don't want to be a hero, then I'm sure there's other avenues you could pursue, like you could probably be a therapist and get people to calm down. Well, it would need to be used in a specific way, though, but I'm sure with training you could do it. Wait, you said it was a villain's quirk? What? Why would that make you a villain? That was not the reaction Shinso was expecting. It was a reaction he had never received from anybody before. Well, it's just everyone always thinks I'm going to take control over their minds and make them do horrible things if they talk to me, so they stop talking to me altogether. That or they force me to stop talking by putting a muzzle on me that kind of like clamps my jaw shut. He shuddered at the thought, and lightly brushed his fingers over the light scars on his jaw from where the contraptions bit down harshly into his skin. What? But you would never do that. Midoriya defended. How do you know? I could take control over you right now. But you wouldn't. He replied matter-of-factly. How do you know that? Because I know we haven't known each other long, but I know you wouldn't do something with the intention of harming me. That's not who you are. Shinso looked to Midoriya to search for lies in his words, something that showed he didn't mean what he said, but everything he saw came up as the truth. Midoriya truly thought he was a hero. But he wasn't. He did a villainous act with his quirk. He stole from someone. I could never become a hero. Why do you figure that? Because last night I took control over this girl's mind and I made her get me food, water, and medical supplies for us last night. A hero wouldn't have done that. But I'm not sure if I would be here. Honestly, I was bleeding out pretty badly and disoriented from lack of food and water, and you're 9 and I'm 8, no one would hire us. It was better to get those things in a way that didn't harm anyone physically than it would have been to forcefully take from them, or to have gone door to door asking people for help. This neighborhood isn't really the best, so I'm afraid that if you did that, someone might have tried to hurt you or worse. I guess that's true, but I wish I didn't have to force my quirk on her. I guess even heroes sometimes have to do bad things with good intentions. You still consider me a hero? Of course. You're my hero now. I was kind of scared about being alone for so long, but I feel better knowing you're here. I haven't had a friend in a long time, but I'm glad we could become one. You're too nice to me, haha, but thank you, I do feel better about what I had to do now. Midoriya smiled at him, and Shinso was glad to know they were still friends, and he was even considering him as a hero. What about you? Huh? What's your quirk? Oh, well, I'm about that, yeah, so, Midoriya fidgeted with his hands. Now he was looking everywhere except at Shinso's eyes. He rocked himself side to side and the mood suddenly plummeted. Shinso was beginning to regret asking the question. Yeah, I'm actually what? I am quirkless. Midoriya spoke in a very low voice. He was looking down the road in hopes to see his mom's car magically pull up. He desperately wanted someone to come out and correct him, say he actually did have a quirk and that he could go back to his everyday life before he was diagnosed. But of course, none of that happened. Shinso widened his eyes and looked at Midoriya, who was now crying. Hey, it's okay, you don't have to talk about it. Look, I'm sorry I asked, I shouldn't have, and that was wrong. And no, you're fine, you told me about why yourself, it was just fair. Midoriya said, crying. I always wanted to be a hero. Kaken told me and my quirk developed we would train together and be the best hero duo here ever existed. Shinso hugged Izuku and rocked him slowly, back and forth in a comforting manner. Izuku hugged back, talking low. I never did, and because of me, dad left, mom hates me now, and everyone bullied me. Kaken told me I couldn't be a hero, everyone told me I couldn't be, but I still want to be a hero. Midoriya whispered. Shinso could only hear it because of how close the two were. He tightened his hug on him. And you will be a better hero duo than you and Kaken. I don't care if you're quirkless, you're amazing and very smart. Midoriya wanted to say more. He wanted to tell Shinso how much he appreciated him, how much he needed to hear those words, that he could still be a hero even without a quirk. But for now, he could only hold onto his friend tightly and cry into his embrace. They stayed like that for a while. It was nice to know Izuku found comfort in Shinso, but he knew if he kept crying like that, they would need way more water soon before he dehydrated himself to death. Hey, how about you come with me and we can go around and ask if anybody has any supplies they can give us? Huh. Well, if you keep crying like that, you'll get dehydrated, and we need to take care of our hygiene too, but I'm not sure how to manage that. Oh, I have toothpaste and a toothbrush. Just one though, sorry, but we can brush our teeth that way we don't get cavities at least. How do you have that? My mom told me to pack my bags before we left the house, so I packed some things before we left, that was one of them. You're smart, I wouldn't have thought of that. You give me too much credit, Shinso. Call me Hitoshi. Huh. Well, we shared our life stories, and you still talk to me despite knowing my quirk. You can call me Hitoshi if you want to. Midoriya smiled and hugged Hitoshi harder, before replying. You can call me Izuku then. Well, Izuku, if you're willing to leave this spot, we can go look for someone who can probably help us out. Izuku looked at the road one more time, clenching his fist. I don't think she's going to come, I'm sorry. Izuku wiped his eyes, refusing to cry more today because Hitoshi was ultimately right. He had cried too much and was already feeling the side effects from it, that being the dizziness. The hunger also didn't exactly help with this either, to be fair. I know. He took Hitoshi's outstretched hand, and he helped pull Izuku off the floor, brushing himself off. The two began to walk around the abandoned city. He hated to admit it, but they really needed help from other people if they were going to survive here. Izuku had been right, they were too young to get any jobs, they needed an adult to support them. Shelter was only as good as it was going to get, until they were forced to eat grass. Hitoshi would not eat grass. What happens if they try to hurt us? Izuku asked. Then I'll stop them, I won't let anyone hurt you. Hitoshi replied. He was determined to make sure of that too. Izuku squeezed the purple-haired boy's hand. I'll protect you too, I might be useless, but I can help too, as best as I can at least. If you start calling yourself useless, I'm going to fight you for real. Izuku laughed as the two kept their pace. Thank you, Hitoshi. Of course, thank you too, Izuku. For what? I didn't do anything. For being my friend and still talking to me, I'm really happy we could be friends. Izuku smiled and briefly looked into Hitoshi's purple eyes. Me too. So, what's the plan exactly? Izuku asked Hitoshi. Well, we need food and water at least if we want to survive. We already agreed no one would hire us because we're too young. Next best thing is to ask around and see if anyone would be willing to help us. Izuku thought about that. It was true they could only support each other for so long before they ran out of supplies. However, it was also true that this area proved dangerous, especially for two kids. How about I go to doors and ask for help, and if I'm in trouble you can come in and save me? Izuku asked. How would I be able to save you? You could use your quirk and just ask whoever to help or make them stop? It might work. I can try, I guess. Hitoshi replied thoughtfully. They walked around studying each of the houses as they did so. Some they could hear noises coming from them, and they didn't sound pleasant either. Other homes had looked abandoned or too sketchy to even try to knock on. Ultimately, they settled on trying a house that had boarded-up windows, peeling and scratched paint, and stairs that led up to the porch. Shinso hid away from the front door, keeping watch while Izuku bravely walked up the rotting steps to the front door of the house. He briefly glanced at Shinso, who gave him a thumbs up. He would save Izuku if anyone tried anything. Taking a deep breath, Midoriya formed his hand into a fist and lightly knocked on the door. And waited. And waited. Maybe he should be louder? The anticipation of what was going to happen next was eating him up from the inside. He timidly knocked again, this time a bit more forceful. Then he heard it, noises from inside. It sounded like people were whispering. Ha! Stupid! Like you! Not idea! What were the fragments of conversation saying? Izuku didn't quite understand. He took a step back and looked over to where Hitoshi was hiding. He was scared. They both were. Hitoshi couldn't take standing idly by anymore and ran up to Izuku. He might not be able to get the jump on these people if they did something shady, but he felt more at ease knowing he was there to protect his friend in a moment's notice rather than wasting time. What's going on? Hitoshi whispered. They're talking, but I'm not sure WH-. The door swung open. This was annoying. Everything was annoying. When he signed up to be part of the villains, he was expecting to help make a name for himself and the other villains and slowly build a reputation. Then when the media took them seriously, he would reveal his past to everyone and finally take down that bstrd endeavor. But for right now he was stuck with Lizard Face having to hide out in this shady rundown neighborhood. Luckily, after he scouted the place out, he found most of everyone here was drag addicts looking for a cheap and quick hit. He was certain the heroes knew the crime rate here, they just didn't care enough to do anything about it. That was fine. He would make them see what their precious city looks like to everyone, all the good they wanted you to see, and all the worst parts of it they fervently tried to cover. Although he hated the circumstances of sitting and waiting for the boss to be ready with his plans, he ultimately is the same reason why they were here right now. The heroes were starting to catch wind of the new and upcoming group called the League of Villains, and they had to spread out to make their true hideout better hidden. Toga went with Shigaraki off to the opposite district, a place that was similar to this and just as run down. Except at least they had running water and electricity. And of course, Lizard Face wouldn't let him forget that either. Dabi had to resort to his fire for warmth and light. Why did I get stuck with you? Spinner asks annoyingly. I don't know, why are you so whiny? Dabi asked back. You couldn't have at least chosen a place that had running water? I don't think there's a single house here that has running water, Spinner. Dabi grumbled back. The two were about to argue more when Dabi thought he heard something at the door. Shut up. What? Are you telling me to dash? I said shut up. I think someone's at the door. Dabi and Spinner looked towards the door expectantly. Dabi was wondering if anything had actually been there or not. He was about to go back to arguing with Lizard Face again when he heard it, more clearly than last time. Someone's at the door. Dabi said. You go open it then. Huh? Spinner grinned. Stupid, why don't you open it then? Or are you too afraid? Not taking the bait, Spinner grabbed his sword and started cleaning it with a cloth. It's not my idea being here now, is it? We could have gone to the district Toga and boss are at. but you had to drag me here instead. Dabi growled at him and went towards the door. Who could possibly be stupid enough to bother them at this hour? And why was anyone going door to door to probably preach about religion or try to pawn off faked goods? He would show them. A blast to the face would scare him off for good. He swung the door open. "What do you want?" he asked in that rough voice of his, but he didn't see anyone eye level to him. He had to look down to see 2 kids? Those couldn't be children, could they? One had purple hair, and he stood in front of the one with green hair. The green-hair kid squeaked in fear when Dabi opened the door, and the purple-haired kid stepped in front of him, blocking him with his body. Okay, so children are knocking at his door. That was odd to be sure and not what he was expecting. He wasn't expecting what the purple-haired kid said next. "Hi, me and my friend need food and water really badly. Can you help us?" Food and water? Forget that they needed a shower. Honestly, how could people be so heartless as to bring children into the world if they were living in a state like this? "Why don't you come inside and we'll talk about it?" Dabi offered. The green kid shook his head and whispered something to the purple. His eyes widened and he took a step back. "No, we don't trust you. My friend said you broke into his shelter before. He's not comfortable around you." Shinso looked him up and down and added, "I'm not either, honestly." The nerve of these kids. But also he liked their spirit. Dabi walked outside and sat on the porch, making a show of leaning against the wall and closing his eyes as he smiled, trying to play cool. He wasn't afraid of these children. He could easily defend himself from them, but he did want to know their story. "Alright, that's fair. Kid, sorry for breaking in, but honestly, I don't think anybody legally owns any of these houses. It's more so like whoever is able to defend their place gets to keep it." "Defend?" The green-haired kid timidly spoke. "Yep, any house at any time could be raided here. If a gang came up, they could overpower you and your folks." "Folks?" Purple questioned. "You know, mom, dad, sister, brother, whoever you have around your humble abode." "It's just you us," Green replied. Dabi opened his eyes and looked at them. "Just each other?" He looked at them more closely. The purple-haired kid had scarring around his mouth, and the green-haired kid had some scars going up his arms and some on his legs. "You 2 runaways then? Will you help us or not?" Purple asked, clearly tired of this already. "Depends, if I like what you say then maybe I will." "Weiss, my mom abandoned me here," Green replied, holding tighter to Purple's hands. "I ran away," Purple said matter-of-factly. Abandonment and a runaway, Dabi could relate. He remembered he ran away after he set that forest on fire, when he realized Endeavor would never be a father, not in the ways that counted or truly mattered at least. He only wished he could have taken his brother with him and spared him from that horrible fate he left him to. That was his one and true life regret, leaving Shoto behind in that family with a monster. He was just so jealous of Shoto. He was the child Tuya had always tried to be for his dad, the one that could be trained to top his dad one day in the hero rankings, to be better than All Might. Hero training. Oh, how he couldn't wait to see the look on the old man's face to find out his son was not only alive but was one of the most wanted villains. Patience, that plan can come in time. For now he was Dabi. "Alright, you know I was a runaway too." "I'm sorry," Green spoke. Dabi got up from his position and went inside the house. "I'll be back," he told the kids and walked inside. "What was that about?" Spinner questioned. "And what are you doing?" Dabi took out various foods and drinks from the kitchen, pulling out a plastic bag and stuffing them all inside. "Getting some brats something to eat and drink before they starve to death out there. What are you doing?" "Exactly why are you giving resources to a few rats? I didn't take you as someone who donated things to others. They remind me of someone I knew. What's it to you anyways? We're leaving this dump next week anyways, we'll survive." "That's not what I mean. They could be planted here by the hero agency to lure us out and let our guards down so they could get the jump on us," Spinner argued. He went up and grabbed Dabi's arm, looking into his eyes. Dabi stared back with just as much fire. "Let go of me. I don't want to get caught." Dabi brought up the temperature on his body, blue flames starting to flick from his hand as he stared at Spinner more, getting him to back down. Reluctantly, Spinner let go and backed off, much to Dabi's pleasure. He won. "You will be fine, They're just brats who have no one who cares about them. Heroes don't come by this part of the neighborhood anyways. Spinner grumbled and turned back, watching Dabi leave. Hey brats, take this, Dabi said, coming through the door and handing the purple-haired boy the bag of supplies. He quickly opened it and checked the contents, the green-haired child peeking over his shoulder. That's a lot of food, thank you, mister. Green spoke. We're not giving you anything in return, we don't have money. Purple deadpanned, staring at Dabi in the eyes. This kid was a fighter, that was for sure. Dabi laughed. Wasn't expecting anything. Though your names would be nice. The green-haired kid looked at the purple-haired boy. They had an unspoken communication between each other. Before the green one nodded, the purple one relented. My name's Shinso, and this is Midoriya. He, Shinso, introduced. Hi. Midoriya timidly spoke. Thank you so much for the supplies. Don't sweat it, brat. Speaking of, how do you plan on living out here exactly? You can't rely on handouts all the time. We'll figure something out, go dumpster diving if we have to dash. Shinso replied. No. Midoriya cried out, tightening his grip on Shinso. He was shaking now. Why? Did something happen? Shinso asked, wrapping himself around Midoriya, hugging him. No, not again, never again, I can't do that. Midoriya spoke. His voice sounded quiet and broken. He started to mumble something quieter. In the boy's ear. Stop apologizing, it's not your fault, it's okay. Shinso whispered back. Dabi would absolutely not admit that broke his heart, even if just a little. He made certain his face showed no change in emotion as he ruffled the two's hair and off the cuff made an offer. Want me to walk you two back home? This neighborhood's not safe, especially for children. No, we don't trust you. Shinso replied, giving the man a stare as his friend clung to him. Come on, I gave you food and everything. Trust me, kid, if I wanted to hurt you, I could have done so by now. I just want to make sure you're both alright, okay? Why do you care about our well-being so much? To tell the truth, you both remind me of my younger brother. I didn't do something when I should have, and now, I regret those decisions. I just want to make sure I don't make the same mistake again. The older teenage boy said. Now let's get going before it gets awfully dark. Midoriya released his hold on Shinso, but still held his hand as he wiped his eyes with the free one. Shinso kept the bag close as he led the way back to their shelter. It wasn't really a home, not that Shinso knew what a true home was. He had heard many definitions of a home before, the literal one being a shelter you could sleep in and feel comfortable in. But he knew not every shelter qualified as a home, because he had many shelters where he never felt comfortable in, so those wouldn't fit the description, would it? Then he heard a home was what you made it, whether it was a specific location or an assembly of items. That made a bit more sense to Shinso as he at least felt connected to the stars. They would always be there for him when no one else was. But the one definition he heard a lot was that a home isn't a physical thing, but more so, it's the bonds you form between the people in it. That if you had a strong connection with someone, then you really only needed them to feel safe. The world could be pitted against you, but so long as you had that person with you, maybe it wouldn't seem too threatening. Shinso never had that bond with anyone. He tried before to make friends in the orphanage, but the hierarchy was a bloody one. Adults never would be able to fully understand how hierarchies with children worked, because children were ruthless. But the more time Shinso spent with Midoriya, the more of a bond he felt with the boy. He could only hope Midoriya felt the same bond too, but he was too afraid to ask what the boy thought, if Shinso was just looking too much into things and making things up in his head, or if he felt the same way as he did. Shinso constantly fought the urge to call Izuku his brother. He was his friend, he didn't want to lose that. He was worried what Izuku would do if he slipped up and called him his brother. What if Izuku hated the idea of being related to Shinso? Well, they never could be related by blood, but Shinso didn't care about that. No one could ever relate to him by blood, and that was okay because relationships didn't need to be blood-related for them to be just as important. With all that said, he was currently leading his only person who could consider home back to their actual defined home, with a strange, heavily burned and scarred man with piercings and black hair back with them. Not how he planned the night to go. Shinso was still afraid if he didn't do as he was told that the man would attack back, but he wanted to trust just this one time that things would be okay. This is it, thanks for walking us back here. You're gonna be fine by yourself? Shinso asked the pierced man. Trust me, kid, no one's going to even think of attacking me, but I would like to see them try. Sounds fun. He replied, showing off a bit of blue fire from his hand and standing proudly, menacingly. Right? Shinso replied, tightening his grip with Izuku. Izuku squeezed back. I'll head off then, thanks for showing me where you're staying. If you get into any trouble with anyone here, come find me. I wouldn't mind fighting a few thugs off you brats. I like you. The pierced man stated. Wait before you will leave, Izuku asked. He looked at the man's eyes, then quickly darted them to the floor. He was fidgeting with his free hand and kept turning his face around to look at anything except the black-haired guy in front of him. Spit it out, don't got all day. The pierced man spoke. It's just, you know our end names and you didn't tell us yours yet. I don't think at least, but I'm sorry if you did and I just forgot it. I don't want to be nosy though, but it would just be nice to know your name, that way I know who to call for if me or Toshi are in trouble. Izuku stopped mid-paragraph as he saw the look on the man's face. The man laughed and grinned. You sure like to talk, don't you? Name's Dabi, don't forget it. He turned around and put his hands in his pockets. You know where to find me, good night boys. And he walked off, his black hair and outfit quickly blending into the surroundings. That's not what I expected to happen today, Izuku said, disbelief evident in his voice. Yeah, me neither. Hitoshi agreed, before nudging Izuku and gesturing to go inside. Izuku followed with a smile and the two made their way back into the closet of the home. Izuku flattened his backpack and brought his All Might blanket up to his shoulders, snuggling it tightly. Hitoshi dumped the contents inside of the bag out as he sorted everything, when he saw something blue and fluffy. He gave us a blanket? Hitoshi questioned, looking at Izuku. Hey, wanna trade? You can have the new blanket, it's probably warmer than yours, we can swap so you can sleep better. No, I'm like All Might. Izuku replied groggily. As if to add emphasis to his words, he snuggled the blanket tighter than before and kept his eyes closed. All right, you can keep All Might. Hitoshi chuckled, opening the blanket, and laying on the floor, he used his arms as a makeshift pillow and enjoyed the soft carpet flooring of the closet. The two laid in comfortable silence before Hitoshi asked, Do you think we can trust Dabi? Silence followed his question. The silence drew out so long he thought Izuku had fallen asleep. He closed his own eyes and nestled in the warm blanket more. As Hitoshi began to drift, he heard Izuku speak. I hope so. Me too. The sun rose once again, casting a downpour of warm sunlight through the shattered walls and windows. Hitoshi got up, eyes bleary from sleep. He rubbed them and looked around. Where's Izuku? Hitoshi pushed himself off the floor and stood, slowly adjusting to the morning. His back hurt from constantly sleeping on the floor, but he knew there wasn't any other option. He walked out of the long closet and looked around. His eyes landed on the green boy's head, and he softened into a smile. He's still here, that's good. Good morning, Izuku. Hitoshi called out, walking over to his friend who sat on the floor, biting the tip of his pencil as he looked down at the notebook in thought. Upon the call to Izuku, Aizu looked up and smiled. Toshi, I didn't know you woke up. Come here, check out what I've been writing. Hitoshi walked to the boy and sat on the floor next to him, looking over at the notebook he held. Izuku handed him the notebook. Hitoshi looked at the page he was on, and it was filled with words and a drawing. Upon looking at the drawing, he began to think the art is of him. What is this? A hero analysis. I analyze heroes and their quirks. This is your page. Hitoshi let out air through his nose and smiled. He was still confused. Izuku, I'm not a hero. Not yet. Izuku declared proudly. He said it with much enthusiasm and encouragement that left no room for doubt or what-ifs. Look, just read what I wrote. I don't know a lot about your quirk, but I was thinking we could practice with it today and learn more about it. Izuku pointed to some of the words. Also sorry, I don't have any colors on me, so I had to do my best to draw you without it. It's fine, I think I look good with gray hair. Hitoshi laughed. He began reading what Izuku had written. Meanwhile, Izuku walked off to somewhere else. The notes were quite detailed despite Hitoshi barely even telling Izuku anything about his quirk, not like he knew much about it either. Shinso Hitoshi, age 9, purple eyes and hair. Quirk, brainwashing may be renamed to hypnosis? Pronouns, he/they. Below the basic information about Hitoshi held more information and even more questions about his quirk. Activation. Shinso needs to ask you a statement and you have to reply in order for him to meet the activation requirements of his quirk. They have a gregarious yet sarcastic attitude that makes conversation easy to uphold and interactions feel natural. It would be easy for them to gain control over you if you were not actively aware and avoiding their power. Questions. How far can he control his subject before they're out of range? Can he control multiple people at once? Are there things he can't make people do despite asking? How could someone break from his control? What are the drawbacks? Can he activate his quirk halfway to still have control over his subject without them actively knowing they're being somewhat controlled? Does being controlled make your mind blank out everything, or can you still process what you're doing, just have no control over your actions? Hitoshi's mind was swimming with these questions. He hadn't thought about any of these, well, except the drawbacks. He knew if he used his quirk for too long, he got splitting headaches. Answers. Have Hitoshi try them out on me and I will write them down here when more information is discovered. He blinked at that and reread the sentence again. Izuku would willingly allow me to control him? Does he not know that no one likes being under mind control for a reason? He would be willing to relieve all control over his motor functions just to allow me to practice? Before Hitoshi could spiral into his thoughts further, Izuku came up in front of him and handed him a granola bar, eating his own in the other hand. I got this for you. It's breakfast. Izuku said, smiling before sitting down next to Hitoshi, who graciously accepted the bar and began unwrapping it, handing Izuku the notebook. What did you think of it? I know it's not much yet, not nearly as developed in my analysis as other heroes, but I don't know much about your quirk, which is why I want to try out so many things. Hitoshi bit into the granola bar, favoring the chocolate chips inside of it. It's really impressive, but are you absolutely sure you want me to practice on you? Of course, who else would you practice on? It's just, no one likes being under my control. Are you sure you trust me? It's all right if you don't want to, Izuku. No, seriously, it's okay. I'm used to people using me to test out their quirks anyways, so this isn't any different. Plus, I'm offering it'll benefit us both if we know how your ability works. That's a concerning statement. I tell the truth, Izuku said with a shrug. Hitoshi mulled over the thought, looking back at Izuku. How's your back anyways, Aizu? Oh, it's all right. It kind of hurts still, but nothing I can't handle. What about your hand? I'd say about the same as you. Speaking of which, are you going to tell me what happened? You seemed to kind of freak out yesterday when I mentioned dumpster diving. Izuku stopped eating. Hitoshi regretted asking once he saw the smile fall from his friend's face as he looked down to avoid eye contact once more. Hey, you don't have to talk, sheet. Sorry, I shouldn't have asked. No, it's okay, I trust you. Izuku took a deep breath and looked at the wall in front of him, avoiding Hitoshi's gaze. He figured he should look away from Izuku too since he had issues with eye contact, it seemed. Deciding to also stare at the wall Aizu was looking at. So, I was really hungry and I hadn't eaten in a day or so, and I couldn't find anyone to help me out, so I decided to go to this alley and the dumpster that's next to this restaurant that's nearby. The owner, I guess, saw me and he thought I was the person who had been raiding the dumpster and I guess making a big mess. He took a deep breath and clutched his shirt. He told me to do something really bad to get money and to buy my own food. He forced me against a wall and threw me on the ground, and his quirk must have been something to do with making his nails into claws, because he was slicing my back with it as I tried to get away. Izuku finished, letting out a deep breath and timidly looked over to Shinso to see the purpled boy's reaction. Shinso stared at Izuku with a look. He didn't know what, but it just told Izuku that Hitoshi was not at all pleased with any of it. What the hell, he really did that to you? Jesus, that's what? Shinso was at a loss for words. The room went quiet again. Shinso sat for a moment thinking on what to do next. All right, if you're okay with it and serious about it, let's work on getting information about my quirk, Hitoshi said. Izuku seemed to brighten at the subject change and got up, grabbing his notebook and pencil, and followed Hitoshi out the door. Alright, I think we should test out your range first. How far away can you be until your quirk deactivates? Man, doing the hard stuff first? Hitoshi joked. Wait, is it that hard to keep control over your quirk? Sorry, we can do something easier first then if you want. Yeah, can we do something easier first? Keeping concentration is hard. We could do like a warm-up first. Alright, then plan B. Izuku pulled out his notebook, flipped to an empty page and sat on a rock. I want to see if you can make me tell you something I haven't told you before. Would you be able to extract unknown information out of someone? Or try having me write something down. You can also try anything that comes to mind too. Izuku stated, tapping the paper with his pencil and looking at Shinso expectantly, determined. Alright, I'll try not to make you do anything you're uncomfortable with. If I do, just tell me after, okay? I won't repeat it, promise. Izuku gave a light-hearted laugh, smiling and tilting his head to the side. You doubt yourself too much. Seriously, it's okay. Izuku. Yeah. Hitoshi made the connection. He couldn't explain how he knew he was able to put someone in his control. It was a switch in his mind that he knew he could flip whenever he wanted. The times where it was out of his control and he turned it on was different from this. Before, when he did it from fear, it felt more panic-induced. But because Izuku was willing, Shinso felt more at ease with the slower pace. Okay, Izuku, I want you to write down your birthday. Shinso began, looking at Izuku. Izuku had milky white eyes. He seemed to stare off into the distance, not focusing on any one solid thing. He didn't move, just seemingly looked confused. Can you not write your birthday? Shinso tried asking. Izuku slowly shook his head. Alright, I want you to write down I like cats on this page. It's so, she said, pointing at the paper. Izuku followed his hand and looked at the page, accepting to pencil and wordlessly began to slowly write out. He stopped and stared at the page. Seems like you can't answer questions asked of you, but you can follow directions, Shinso mumbled, thinking it over. Get up and, Shinso looked around, eyes landing on a flower nearby, and pick up that flower and bring it to me. Shinso commanded. Izuku stood up, notebook falling to the floor unceremoniously, pencil clattered from his grasp as he mindlessly walked over them, going to the flower. Oh, CRP, didn't think he would completely ignore the items on him. Gotta take those from him first next time. Shinso quickly thought, reaching down to gather the things, and dusted off the notebook. Izuku could visibly see everything happening. He had independent thoughts as things came to him, but when he tried to act any further, it felt like he was trying to run in the sand during a rainstorm. He could make a few steps, but his feet weren't landing properly. They sunk into the ground and he put too much effort to try and free them to take the next step. He saw himself stare at Shinso. He asked him when his birthday was and to write it down. Easy. July 15th. But he couldn't move his hands. He just stared confusedly at Shinso. Acting on the idea was too much work. Izuku couldn't physically do it. He tried to will his hands to start writing, but nothing came. Write down, I like cats on this page. Shinso directed. Okay, that was easy too, I can do that. Izuku looked down and obeyed the order, writing down the words slowly and meticulously. I like cats. That wasn't too hard. Izuku was happy, but he couldn't portray that emotion past his inner monologue. Get up and bring that flower to me. Shinso directed. Izuku felt his body instantly get up and make his way to the flower, notebook and pencil falling to the floor. He wanted to pick them up, but his body disobeyed that command and went forward to the flower. He plucked it from the ground and turned back, slowly walking to Hitoshi. Hitoshi had picked up the notebook for him and dusted it off, looking at Izuku. Izuku held the flower out to Hitoshi. It was a white flower with a yellow center, quite common. Thanks. Hitoshi replied, taking the flower. What else can we try? Hitoshi thought aloud. Walk in a circle 5 times and verbally count each time you go around. Izuku began walking in a circle. 1. This was weird. 2. Toshi probably wants to see if I can do 2 things at once. 3. Izuku did feel mentally drained. He wondered if that was a side effect of the quirk's usage or just his own mental fatigue. 4. He was probably just imagining it. Really, he had struggled to sleep last night after all. 5. Izuku came to a dead stop. He blinked and everything came back full force. He could feel everything, fully registering the area they were in now. He took a minute to let his sudden clarity dissipate. Hitoshi must have released his quirk on him. How was it? Hitoshi asked nervously. Izuku looked to him to find him looking quite concerned. He was scared. Izuku thought it over, moving his hands and head. He had full control again. It was interesting. Interesting? How so? It was like, I could see everything, I could register it all happening, but I was powerless to stop any of it. Izuku replied, needing to sit down next to Hitoshi on the rock. I replied to your questions but only in my head, the words couldn't escape my mouth. I couldn't control over anything you didn't directly order me to do. It was kind of cool, honestly. How is that cool? Shinso let out a nervous laugh. Izuku took the notebook from him and began writing everything down, meanwhile speaking in between paragraphs. Well, it was like I was trying to say things but there was a barrier I couldn't break down. I was fully aware of my actions yet also unable to intervene from them. It's kind of weird actually. Izuku wrote a detailed description of how he felt being under control before continuing. It felt like my head was blissfully empty of all thoughts, yet also it was taking a lot out of me mentally just to form thoughts all the same. I could actually go for a nap now if I'm being honest, just to recover. Izuku laughed. If I had to guess, I think being under control makes my mind go blank, but because I kept actively thinking, it made me get really tired faster and less willing to continue. Did you release your quirk, or did I break free from it? I released you when I felt a bad headache forming. It got harder to control you and my head was hurting pretty bad. It took a lot of effort to keep you in control actually. Hitoshi replied, rubbing his forehead. I figured as much. We should take a nap to recover, and we can try again, but this time, I'll stop overthinking and analyzing and instead, I'll let my mind be as still as possible and see if it's easier for you to work with. Izuku declared. Having a still mind? Impossible. Hitoshi barked, laughing. Hey, I can totally make my mind blank, just you wait and see. Izuku replied, lightly hitting Hitoshi's shoulder. I'll believe it when I see it. Or, well, feel it I guess. Izuku huffed and closed the notebook. He walked back into the house. Shinso followed. You can read what I wrote down now or later if you want. Izuku replied, handing him the notebook. We should work on your range soon too. It would be interesting to see if you can improve it and how far we can go before you lose connection. Izuku said, yawning afterwards. Yeah, sounds like a plan. Hitoshi and Izuku went to the long closet again. Izuku sat on the floor with his all-might blanket. Hitoshi had his blue blanket. Hey Aizu. HM? What is it? Sorry if this is weird or you're not ready or comfortable, but I was thinking. Izuku looked at Hitoshi. Hitoshi stared back. Are you alright if I sleep with you? We can share the 2 blankets and keep warm together. Also, it would be nice to know you're still here with me. Izuku felt tears starting to form. Before he could stop them, he started crying. Wait, why are you crying? Sorry, you can ignore I said anything dash. No, it's fine, I haven't slept with anyone since I was F4. Izuku looked to the floor, he looked so small. I really missed it, the feeling of company, not being alone. I'm fine with it. Hitoshi smiled. Izuku returned it with a wobbling version of his own. Honestly, same. Hitoshi replied. He made his way to Izuku, having the blue blanket draped over his back as if he were wearing a cape. He tackled Izuku and wrapped him in the blanket. Izuku hugged him and buried his face in the crook of his neck. Hitoshi patted his hair, and they took a nap together. The nap was quite uneventful, but that's not what got Izuku excited. It was the prospect of having someone sleep with him again. He truly missed it. He didn't realize just how starved he was for attention and affection until Hitoshi came by to shower him with it. Izuku felt like he was at a friend's house for a sleepover party, where everyone would stay up all night and see who the first person to fall asleep would be. Izuku felt his head was much clearer than it had been. The light outside still shone with fervent vigor. They must have napped for about an hour or 2. Izuku looked at the purple-haired boy next to him slowly open his eyes. How you feeling? Izuku asked. Much better. I think I'm ready to test out the distance of the quirk now if you are. Sure. I'm feeling better too, let's do it. Izuku and Hitoshi got up and made their way outside again. Now both felt truly refreshed from the mentally exhausting activity. How do you think we should do this? Izuku asked Hitoshi. I think what we should do is have you stay in a single place and I walk around the city and see when I start to lose that connection on you. I felt it before when I was running away from my last home. It felt like a snapping sensation in my mind. I'm sure if I'm going slower I can time when that hits. Hitoshi explained, hands on his sides, head slightly tilted to the left as he thought. That sounds good. Maybe try going in a straight line so we can see just how far you have to be? How would we mark the distance you think? We could try landmarks? Let's try to keep to the sidewalk the entire time so we can easily see how far it is without obstacles. That sounds like a plan to me. Let's do it. Izuku and Hitoshi began walking out to the sidewalk. Izuku, Hitoshi began. Yeah. Izuku replied, instantly stopping all movement as his eyes faded to that same milky white as before. Sit here and stay, don't move from this spot until I tell you to, or if you feel like you're in danger. Shinso commanded, adding the last bit just in case someone came in to hurt Midoriya. The green-haired boy did as he was told, sitting himself down on the concrete and not moving, staring at Shinso expectantly. Stay. Shinso added. I feel like I'm commanding a dog. It feels weird. Shinso turned around and began walking away from his friend. How far would I have to go to begin feeling the sensation? Shinso thought. He didn't remember how far he was running before, so going at a slower pace should help him begin to feel that hold again that he was feeling before. It felt as though the two were connected by a cord. The further Hitoshi walked away from the outlet, the sooner the cord's length would run out and the plug would pull itself from the outlet, akin to that of a vacuum cleaner's cord being forcibly pulled from the outlet while you're vacuuming. The vacuum turns off power instantly while you're trying to clean. If you know the cord's length, you can begin to feel the resistance of you hitting that length before the force shuts off the vacuum. Or something like that. God, when did I start using metaphors in my life? Hitoshi briefly looked behind him to see Izuku a few houses down, still sitting obediently awaiting the next command. He's still not moving, so he's still in my control for now. When did Izuku start trusting him? It was weird to think that he was so badly hurt yet still trusting me enough to take care of his wounds, and even let me test out my quirk? He's really unlike any other person I've met before. Hitoshi passed by a stranger on the sidewalk, paying him no mind and keeping his gaze lowered to the sidewalk. He didn't want to cause drama if it was not needed. I have a bad feeling about this actually. Something doesn't seem right. Shinso turned around to look at the man, but the man was staring directly at Shinso. He had a black hoodie on with the hood pulled over his face, dark blue jeans and torn up brown sneakers. Nothing looked out of the ordinary, so why was he staring at Shinso? Hey, you're a purple-haired kid, ain't ya? The creep asked. His hands were in his hoodie's front pocket as he stared. Congratulations, you have eyes. Want to make any other obvious observations there, Buster? Shinso sarcastically remarked. Hey now, you stole from my girlfriend, didn't cha? Did no one teach why manners? He began walking toward Shinso. Who? Shinso asked, but after the question left his mouth, he instantly remembered. Akira, the girl he did technically steal from. Wait, the girl with the brown hair? Akira, right? Let me explain. Hitoshi began backing up. Nah, that ain't it. Why, you made her give you all our stash. She told me about how you forced her against her will. She's just a girl. D'ya have no manners? You never hurt girls. Why here? They're fragile. Why got that? The man said, stepping towards Shinso. With each step he took back, the creep followed one step ahead. What's with the way he talks? It's annoying, but also, what is he talking about right now? I didn't hurt her, and she barely gave us anything. I made sure of that. Look, I'm sorry, but my friend, he was going to die, and I don't think girls are fragile. I promise my quirk doesn't hurt. Shinso was instantly shoved. He felt a slight stinging sensation from the spot the man touched him. Nah, you ain't listenin', boy. He yelled. His hands were out of his pockets, and they glowed a bright yellow. Shinso turned around and ran, sprinting from the man. Akira! The creep shouted, and all of a sudden, a woman emerged from the darkness one of the building's shadows casted. She reached forwards and tried to cut Hitoshi off. Hitoshi quickly ducked out of the way from her attempted grab. He ran off the sidewalk and bolted into the street. The other two chasing him down. Sheet, this is bad, this is really bad, this is terrible. I swear it didn't hurt. Akira shouldn't have been hurt, she might have exaggerated it, they didn't even want to hear me out. He glanced behind him to see the woman was melting into the shadows again, while the man with the heated hand ran in strides towards Shinso, approaching rapidly. This is bad, what do I do? Where do I go? What about Aizu? See, he's all by himself. And worst of all, he can't even control himself. I'm not there to give him orders. Do I release my hold on him? Yeah, that's the smart idea. I can release him, and he can hide. Shinso tried to focus to release that mental cord from him to Izuku, but he couldn't quite figure it out. He was too stressed in the current situation to think properly. Release. Let go. Izuku, run. Hide. They're following me, but what if they follow you? Do they know you're here? Did they plan this? This was a bad idea. Shinso's feet led him pounding down the sidewalk and asphalt. He didn't know where he was going, but the route seemed familiar. He trusted his instincts and followed where his senses led him. Get back here. Pay for your crimes. The creep shouted after Shinso. I didn't do anything. My friend was going to die. I promise we can repay you. Shinso tried yelling back. You'll pay all right. The creep replied. Suddenly Akira appeared from the shadows one building nearby cast and attempted to tackle Shinso. Shinso felt something graze his arm, but he kept running. Putting his hand to it, he felt the familiar sensation of blood. You'll pay with your blood. Akira retorted. Shinso stumbled and tripped over himself. He knew the house his feet were leading him to. That strange man. He could help him. With a newfound determination, Shinso ran even faster, barreling into the side of the house, quickly jumping to the door and pounding on the wood. Dabi, help me please. Please, Dabi. Shinso begged at the door, Akira and the man now catching up to Shinso. Dabi, please. I'll do anything, help me. It's Shinso. He cried, banging and pounding hard. The door swung open, and the man grabbed Shinso, bringing him inside swiftly. Shinso watched as he, with no hesitation, went after Akira and the man. Shinso watched in awe as bright blue flames of fury engulfed the area. Who dares hurt my brat? He yells out, blue eyes landing on Akira and the man, hatred filling every inch of them. The flames burned brightly. Shinso could feel the heat. Radiating from where he sat on the floor, Dabi had unceremoniously grabbed him and harshly pulled him inside, so he stumbled and fell to the ground. Shinso held tightly to his injured arm, watching the sheet show that went on outside like it was a theatrical play. Flames burst from outside, hot blue fire spilled out onto the streets and set the concrete city ablaze in its fury. Shinso watched it all unfold in front of him through the doorway that was left wide open. Izuku, I need to let control off of Izuku. How do I do that? I can't think properly, he could be in trouble, and I made him just sit there. Can he hear me from this far away? There's no way. What if he's really hurt? What if he's dead? And it's my fault. No, this can't be happening, it's my fault. It's my fault. Hitoshi spoke. They began to shake on the floor and cry, cradling his injured arm and putting his hand over the wound. He knew he was bleeding, but he couldn't register it, he couldn't feel the pain, his vision was going black around the edges. It's hard to breathe. Why is it so hard to breathe? Whoa, what's going on out there? An unfamiliar voice spoke behind Shinso. He should be terrified, he didn't know this voice, and he was, but he still couldn't register it. It was as though his emotional state and logical state of mind were at war for control. Shinso didn't reply. Hey, wait. Who are you? The voice asked. It's my fault, I can't do anything, let go. Hitoshi started whimpering, his voice was weak and small. Kid? Hey, you're hyperventilating, you'll pass out if you keep doing that. Kid, listen to me. The man spoke. A green lizard-like creature crouched in front of Shinso, hands with claws at the tips reached out. Shinso flinched at the attempt of contact and fell backwards. Sorry. It spoke, racking their hands. It's my fault, I can't do anything. Hitoshi began to whimper again. Just breathe, come on, in for 4, hold for 5, out for 6, breathe and we can figure this out together, okay? Hitoshi tried to do what he suggested, but breathing was so hard right now. He breathed in but he couldn't even breathe properly, his breath kept hitching and he lost count. How long did he have to hold it? God, it's all his fault this is happening, he shouldn't have stolen and now Izuku is in trouble. Even if you can't focus on it properly, just keep trying to breath, okay? In for 4, hold for 5, out for 6. The lizard-like man instructed, he started breathing that way too. Copy me, okay? You can do that, he said gently. Hitoshi struggled to copy what the man advised, but he was slightly doing it. Tears ran down his cheeks, the black spotty vision was slowly going away, and his head and arm felt like they were on fire. There you go, your arms hurt, breathe some more for me and I'll get some bandages and stop the bleeding, okay? I'll be right back. He spoke, getting up and leaving Hitoshi on the floor to try to recover himself. I'm sorry, Aizu. Hitoshi cried, wiping his eyes with the sleeve of his shirt. He was furious, absolutely enraged. Who were these people thinking they could jump on someone in the middle of the day and brutally attack a child no less? People were truly evil, and the fact he knew the heroes knew about this district and its rampant crime, but their unwillingness to do a thing about it made him even more outraged. He may be a villain, but at least he had some goddamn standards. These BStards seem to have none though. What makes you think attacking a child was alright? W roared. Wait, stop. We're sorry. We're sorry. Let us explain. You see, the purple kid attacked my girlfriend Dash, the crusty man began to say. I don't give a F about your sob story, he is a child, not even double digits yet, and here you are viciously attacking him like he's a goddamn threat to you. Newsflash, he isn't. W bit back. I don't get it, dia? He put my G-girlfriend in a trance or something, he's a threat. Age doesn't matter. He tried defending again. Dabi turned around swiftly to set the street behind him alight with his fire. The woman shrieked in fear at being found trying to get the jump on Dabi from behind. She barely dodged the flames as she fell harshly to the ground on the right side, rocks and gravel biting into her skin sharply as she went, leaving behind scrapes and blood as she wobbled herself back up. Dabi ran towards the woman, using his fire to propel himself forwards to reach her faster. One arm swiftly went around her neck as he used his body weight to throw her back to the ground, hand around her throat while he used one of his legs to pin her down, the other leg set firmly on the ground to keep himself balanced. He looked into her eyes and turned around grinning. What do you think you're doing? The man cried out, running towards Dabi. Another step forward and I'm burning her throat. Dabi roared, turning back down to the woman. And you'll have fun suffering while you slowly die on the floor like a disgusting pest. He threatened. The man behind Dabi stopped, fell to the floor and put his hands above his head, bowing low. Let Akira go, we won't hurt the purple boy again, promise? Wrong, Dabi said, hand heating up around Akira's throat. Stop. What do you mean wrong? You won't hurt any child again. Akira started screaming, her weak fists trying to land punches on Dabi, but Dabi's body temperature was already raised really high. It was as if she were trying to attack an oven that had been left on. She cried, feeling the searing hot pain enveloped her. We won't hurt any children again. The man begged, eyes pleading for Dabi to stop. Dabi raised the temperature around her throat more, wanting it to hurt just as much as she hurt Shinso. When he was certain he would leave her with scarring and a very bad burn, he got up and walked to the man. Akira stayed on the ground, crying and trying to scream, but her throat couldn't make much noise aside from a disgusting wheezing noise. Akira! The man cried, scrambling to get off the floor. Before he could run to his girl, Dabi grabbed onto the man's collar and yanked him back to face Dabi. What else do you want? He stuttered, shaking. It's your turn now, Dabi said with a sickening smile. Dabi made sure these a-holes never hurt his kids again. What? They were his kids for as long as he stayed in this area at least. He knew how awful people could be firsthand. He wanted to save them as much of the pain that he went through as possible. They didn't deserve it. Spinner, how's he doing? Dabi asked, coming back into the house hurriedly. Dabi smelt like heavy smoke. The areas around his scars looked like they were burning him up from the inside out, but he kept his voice at a level tone, hoping to not scare the poor kid any further. He's breathing, but he keeps muttering something about it being his fault. I was able to bandage his wounds, so he should be fine in that aspect. Thank you, Spinner. Dabi said, relieved. At least the kid was properly taken care of. Dabi made his way to the purple-haired boy and crouched on the floor with him. You with me still, brat? He asked. His tone was caring despite the nickname. Why yeah, but I can't. Izuku's dash. Shinso tried to continue, covering his face with his hand as he looked to the side, still crying. Let's go find Izuku then, he'll be fine. Dabi promised. No, I used my quirk on him, we were practicing and then the guy showed you up. He can't think for himself. It's my fault, it's all my fault. Breathe, brat, don't start a panic attack again, we'll go to him and find out what's up, okay? What if he's hurt because of me? He'll be fine, come on lead me to him, Spinner and I will come with. Spinner gave Dabi a shocked look. Dabi stared back, challengingly. You want me to come with you? Spinner's expression read. You are coming. Dabi shot back. Their silent conversation was held between a stare down. Spinner backed down first, Dabi won, again. Take me to him. Dabi said again, determination in his voice. Shinso nodded and slowly got up, stumbling to the door. Careful there. Spinner said, holding him upright. I'm fine, follow me. Shinso stated. The trio started walking out of the house. Shinso tried to run but Dabi made him stop. It was clear he was too fatigued to do much physical activity, given the fact he seemed to spend all his energy in his panic attack. He was still struggling to come back down to earth. Don't push yourself. Dabi told him, explain what the situation is. You said you used your quirk on him, but he can't think for himself right now. Alright, my quirk, it's brainwashing, he's under my control right now but I can't release it. I don't know how, I'm trying but it's not working, I can still feel the tether to him, I don't know what's going on. Shinso said in a hurry. If you're not properly focusing on your quirk, and you don't have a handle on it to where it becomes second nature to reflexively turn it on and off, then that makes sense, you just need more practice with it and it'll grow into something you can turn on and off without a thought. Dabi explained. I can't practice it on anyone, it's a villain's quirk, no one trusts me with it. Not even Midoriya? And no, that's not. He trusts me, but he probably won't after this. We don't even know if the brat's hurt, for all we know he's perfectly fine just waiting for you and we're panicking over nothing. Dabi tried to reason. You might be right, Shinso mumbled. Turning a corner, Shinso saw the fluffy green-haired kid up ahead. He was still just sitting there, like nothing happened. His eyes were stark white still, no hint of viridian in them, but he looked fine all things considered. Izuku! Shinso cried out, wriggling himself out of Spinner and Dabi's grasp, running to his friend. Shinso started crying and fell to the ground in front of Izuku. He held his hand and turned his face to his. Izuku stared through him, as though nothing were there at all. Aizu, I'm so sorry, I can't release it, I don't know how. I was attacked and so much happened, it was so fast, Aizu, please forgive me. Shinso cried. Shinso, calm down, listen to me. Dabi started, now squatting on the ground with Shinso with Izuku, he put a gentle hand on the purpled kid's shoulder to get his attention. Focus on your quirk, you know how it activated, you mentioned it feeling like a tether? Search for that thread and disconnect it, calm yourself down and search inside yourself to break it off. If that doesn't work, we can try to figure a way to break the contact ourselves, okay? Shinso sniffed and rubbed his eyes. Okay, yeah, that sounds good. He commented. Search within myself and break the connection, that shouldn't be so hard. He's safe, I'm safe, Dabi is here and so is his friend, no one can hurt us. Just focus on finding that SW. I turn this power on, I can turn it off too, I've done it before, I just did it today, this shouldn't be hard. Shinso reached out and held hands with Izuku. Together they sat on the concrete sidewalk holding hands. Shinso closed their eyes and Izuku kept his trained on both everything and nothing. Search for the tether and sever it, turn it off like you did earlier today. Hitoshi felt that familiar spark in his mind. Grabbing hold of it, he felt the snapping sensation. Instantly their eyes flew open and looked at Izuku in front of him. His eyes regained their green hue as he slowly came to focus them on the purple kid. Toshi? What's the matter? Izuku asked, reaching one of his hands up to touch his friend's face, wiping away some of their tears. I'm just so glad you're alright, please, I'm sorry that happened, I'll never do it again, I promise. I'm confused, what happened? Izuku looked around and noticed Dabi and Spinner nearby. Dabi? What are you doing here? He looked to the green-scaled man and added, and who's that? In a hushed tone. That's Spinner, he's a friend, don't worry. Dabi replied. Wait, why are you apologizing? Izuku asked, turning back to Hitoshi. It's a long story, Hitoshi replied, chuckling a bit at themselves for how much they worried for Izuku. They just hoped Izuku could forgive them. With the tale of today's events told aside from what Dabi did to the two attackers, he refused to comment about what he did to them. Izuku sat silently, taking it all in. So what I'm hearing is... This was it. He was going to tell me how much he hates me and how he never should have trusted me. I just hope we can stay friends at least. You were able to keep me under control even under a high-stress situation, and you ran all the way to Dabi's place while also keeping your control? Toshi, that's so amazing. If you can keep control under high-stress situations, that means that you have an even better handling of your quirk than I originally thought. Oh, not to say that I didn't think you couldn't handle your quirk, it's just you mentioned how you didn't practice much with it, so I didn't know if you would be able to focus on a main task while also keeping tabs on your quirk. Am I talking too much? I'm probably talking too much. Wait, no, this is rambling, now I'm rambling. Sorry. Izuku info dumped. You're not mad? Hitoshi asked cautiously. Of course not. Izuku replied, hugging him. Thank you, Hitoshi added, gripping Aizu's shirt tight and burying his face in his friend's shoulder. Of course. We still need to figure out your range of your quirk, then we can work on how to turn it off and if outside forces can make you lose control of who you get control over too. You still want to practice with me? Obviously. We haven't tried everything out yet. There's so many questions, with each answer we get new information and with new information we get, Izuku clapped his hands for emphasis, questions. You're so weird, Aizu. Hitoshi commented, wiping his eyes, and holding on to Aizu's shoulder still. He was grateful his friend wanted to continue working on his quirk. Hitoshi didn't know when he would get the opportunity to improve it without his help. I know. Izuku replied. And we'll be your bodyguards from here on out. Dabi offered, crossing his arms and standing tall and proud. I feel like I don't get a say in this. Spinner replied. That's because you don't. Dabi stated matter-of-factly. Fine, at least it'll make things interesting around here. So tomorrow I'm thinking Spinner stays with me while I'm under mind control, and Toshi can take Dabi and they can go as far as possible until Toshi loses control over their quirk on me. And hopefully this time things won't go haywire. Izuku planned aloud. Sounds good to me, but while I'm here I can promise no one will even look at you too funny. Dabi said with confidence and bravado. The group chatted a while after that before Dabi and Spinner had to leave for the night. Shinso and Midoriya went back into their shelter, while Dabi walked with Spinner in the dying light outside back to their own shelter too. We're only staying here for a week, you remember that, don't you? Spinner questioned. Of course, I know that I don't forget easily. Then why would you offer to protect them if you know we can't be there past this week? I'll put something in place to ensure they get help when we leave. Heroes might not come here by themselves, but we can always point them in the right direction if they have enough bait. What are you planning? Something big to force their attention on us. You better not get us in trouble then. Trust me, we will be long gone before that happens. We better. The conversation died there. Dabi was preparing a plan to draw the hero agency's attention to this forgotten corner of the map. Sure, heroes didn't patrol this area and they might not want to, but if they were given a piece of bait so good they couldn't resist, then it surely would be worth it, wouldn't it? And if he anonymously tipped off to the heroes that there were some homeless brats who needed a place to go, well, no one would have to know it was him. Together, Dabi, Spinner, and Izuku all helped Hitoshi practice their quirk. Hitoshi learned that he could control people up to 1,500 feet, though they start to struggle around there. Comfortably, Hitoshi could go up to 1,300 feet. Dabi reassured him that it wasn't bad for his age, that he would improve in time and practice and be able to go even further, no problem. Hitoshi had to learn a lot of things. Firstly, that Izuku truly didn't mind helping Hitoshi, even though he kept asking Aizu if he was okay with it and apologizing. Hitoshi started to grow more confident with Aizu, and the two of them started building even more trust with one another. Something else Hitoshi learned was that Aizu would get up some nights and days and go to that alley his mom left him at, waiting for her. It became the first place Hitoshi would check whenever Izuku was missing. They talked about it, and Izuku recognizes that it was most likely, definitely, a waste of time. That he just can't accept his mom would do something like that. He said that he would wait for hope to come to him, however long it took. He knew he just had to wait for someone to save the both of us. Frankly, Hitoshi believed Izuku was far too forgiving than he should have been, but on Aizu's bad days he would sit next to him and wait for someone to drive down that road. Sometimes someone did drive past. Hitoshi could feel the anxiety and hope build in Izuku in these moments where they both heard the distinct rumble of metal machinery on the asphalt concrete, just to hear the whoosh of the car drive right on by. Izuku also allowed Hitoshi to read through his many notebooks. Hitoshi marveled at all the knowledge he had. Despite being younger than Hitoshi, everything was written out with far more advanced knowledge than Hitoshi could have ever done. The two shared many stories together, tales of good and bad things that they experienced in life, their hopes and dreams, funny things they remembered happening or certain things they liked. Hitoshi never felt so connected to anyone before in his life, and the feeling felt so amazing he never wanted to let it go. Apparently, Izuku had a fear of authority figures and had a lot of issues with maintaining eye contact with others. He said that having eye contact with other people made him feel extremely uncomfortable, and he would start to shut down mentally if anyone started yelling at him, or if he felt like he was in trouble. In return, Hitoshi told Izuku about how he felt connected to the stars and loved stargazing at night. He dreamed of leaping from rooftop to rooftop, moon shining brightly behind him as he felt the rush of wind whipping his face. He also let Izuku know he didn't like crowded spaces and also preferred not interacting with people. Aside from the bonding they did, they also frequently met up with Dabi and Spinner. Though Spinner didn't want to give them much attention, Dabi liked to show off his quirk and let Izuku write about it. Dabi had told Izuku to not show his writings about him to anyone else and to keep it between him and Shinso. Speaking of Dabi, he actually wanted Aizu and Toshi to meet up with him sometime today, and he urged how important it was. So after lunch, where Hitoshi and Izuku sat on the floor eating a sandwich, they agreed they'd meet up with the pierced man and ask what was up. Izuku and Hitoshi started memorizing the layout of the abandoned city they were left at. They learned shortcuts back home, and they also learned which parts were most dangerous and which were the safest. They recognized telltale signs of a special trade, as Dabi put it, going on in alleyways, and knew alternate routes to get to their destination if they saw any of these trades happening. That way they wouldn't get hurt. Taking one of the shortcuts, Izuku hopped over a chain-link fence before encouraging Shinso to follow. Shinso ran and leapt on top of the fence, falling unceremoniously to the floor when one of the links caught on his breathes and tripped him up. Izuku laughed and Hitoshi hastily fixed his breathes and hit Izuku in a playful manner. Aizu just kept giggling and encouraged them to continue onward. "I'll get you for laughing at me," Hitoshi called out, running at Izuku. Aizu squeaked out a surprised yell and ran away. "Toshi, you can't chase me. Come on, you know it was funny," Izuku called out, running through the overgrown grassy yard, ducking and weaving past abandoned projects someone had been building in the yard long ago. "Come here and pay for your crimes," Hitoshi called out, chasing Izuku. Just as Hitoshi was catching up on Aizu, Izuku took a sharp turn to the right, completely changing course as he zigzagged around Hitoshi, throwing him off course, and backtracked a bit before going back towards Dabi's residence. "Dang it, Aizu. You know I can't turn as sharp as you can," Hitoshi called out, swinging his arms around him to try and catch the green-headed boy, who easily weaved around Shinso and ran off, laughing. If Izuku knew one thing about Hitoshi, it was that he could always use his momentum against him. It was fun, really, get him to build up enough speed and then quickly come to a full-force stop, letting Shinso run straight past him and stumble to turn around, or go to a sharp turn and watch Shinso come to the realization that he needed to adjust his strategy. One thing that Hitoshi could use against Izuku, though, was that Izuku couldn't make quick decision skills. He usually took a few extra seconds to come up with what he wanted to do next. And in those seconds where Izuku couldn't decide if he wanted to continue his path forward or to try and attempt parkour over the other side of the fence, it would be faster to go over the fence, but it could also slow Izuku down. The part of the area where the fence gate was open was a perfect spot for Hitoshi to jump him though. He didn't need to think more about it though, as Hitoshi quickly caught up to Izuku, who had briefly stopped running to think. Hitoshi ran up and tackled Izuku. Izuku squeaked his surprise as the two fell on the ground, wrestling once more. "Toshi, stop! Stop!" Izuku cried as he started to uncontrollably giggle and laugh. Hitoshi had a plan of attack in mind for Izuku, and that was his greatest weakness: tickles. "Nope. This is what you get for Logan at me," Hitoshi retorted, tickling Izuku's sides as the two fought on the ground. "We need tea to get to Dabi." Izuku barely made out through his giggles. Izuku was able to pin Hitoshi to the ground. Putting his hand over his face and working on getting off the grass, Shinso groaned out, "Fine." The pair rolled off the grass and brushed some of the blades out of their hair, fixing their rumpled clothes as if it would make them any more presentable, and quickly found themselves in front of the pierced man's front residence. Shinso walked up the creaky steps and knocked 3 times, before taking a step back. He trusted Dabi, but that didn't mean he could let his guard down completely, which is why he stood defensively in front of the green kid. The door opened with a loud creak and there stood the man himself, Dabi, who ushered them quickly inside. "Been waiting for you two all day. And why do you both look like you got attacked by a raccoon?" Shinso and Midoriya looked at one another, then back at Dabi. "Actually, I don't want to know," Dabi quickly added. "Take a seat, I have something to tell you both." Midoriya and Shinso looked at each other wearily. This was odd for sure. Dabi even looked slightly upset. "What's this about?" Hitoshi asked. The trio sat on the floor. Given the lack of chairs, Dabi leaned his back against the wall and looked at the 2 stray kids sitting in front of him. He let out a sigh and began. "I'm not going to be here after tonight, nor is Spinner. We're leaving." "What?" Izuku and Hitoshi shouted nearly simultaneously. "Hush, you street rats," Dabi's gravelly voice said, holding his hand out in a "be quiet" gesture. "We both have to leave for..." He trailed off. Dabi didn't exactly want to tell these 2 not even double-digit-year-old kids they were off to meet up with his boss and kill even more people, becoming an even better team of villains. So he told a half-truth. "Work, we have to leave for work by tonight, and we aren't coming back here." He looked at the kids before adding, "Ever? You're never coming back here?" The green-haired boy asked, voice trembling a bit. "Who will protect us?" The other one asked. "You can't visit?" "All right, hush you two. I know you'll miss me, but I have a BS reputation I need to demolish, and Spinner and I never planned on staying here long anyways." He averted his gaze a bit before going back to the kids. Their eyes were big and the green ones were already filling with tears that threatened to spill any moment. The purpled ones just looked hurt. "It'll be all right, promise?" "How do you know?" Shinso replied bitterly. "Because I have a hunch that this week will be different than previous ones. There'll be a change soon." "What are you talking about?" Just trust me, all right?" "What did I do wrong?" The voice was small and timid. Both boys looked over to see Midoriya asking, now sporting tears falling freely down his face. "What do you mean?" "First my D-dad left me, then my and now why?" Midoriya cried, wiping his eyes with his sleeve. "Everyone I start to care about leaves me." He quietly added, "Hey, I'm still here, I won't go anywhere either, Aizu." Hitoshi held tightly on Izuku's hand, not letting him spiral into his thoughts even more. "Look, I'm sorry, it has nothing to do with you, either of you. It's just business, you know how it goes. I promise things won't stay this way forever." Dabi attempted to reassure the two. Izuku continued holding Hitoshi's hand and cried. "Why, okay," he whispered. Izuku started to be quiet after that, not feeling the strength in him to talk. Hitoshi seemed to understand his emotions though and didn't force his friend to talk. The 3 of them sat around, before Dabi got up and started off into the kitchen. "I have to get going soon, gotta be out of here before midnight." "And we won't see you ever again?" Hitoshi asked. "If things go to plan you will, but not in person probably. But the world is small, who knows? Maybe you'll serve me coffee one day, huh?" Thank you for helping me with my quirk, and Spinner too. Where is Spinner anyways? He left a while ago, sorry he wouldn't stay to say goodbye. Hitoshi hummed in response. Izuku wasn't talking but nodded slightly, acknowledging the conversation. We'll miss you, Dabi. Thank you for protecting me and Aizu. Hitoshi said, walking up to the man, before hugging him. Izuku quickly followed the action, the kids barely tall enough to hug his waist. Dabi chuckled and ruffled their hair. I'll miss you two street rats too, but things will be better, promise. The two boys eventually made their way out of the house, Dabi waving goodbye. They were sad the man was leaving them, but inside they knew it couldn't last forever. They were alone again, just Hitoshi and Izuku against the world. Hello, you have reached the Endeavor Agency. Is your call urgent or can you be put on hold? Urgent. Okay, sir, please describe the situation and your location as well as your name. We will send a hero out shortly to come to you. I'm not telling you my name, just an anonymous tip that I came across a building on fire. The fire's blue. I think it's the work of a League of Villains member, Dabi. Please send a hero out to investigate. Okay, sir, do you know if anyone is trapped in the fire? Or if anyone is hurt? No one is in the fire and I don't believe anyone is hurt, but the fire is big and will spread quickly if not put out. Thank you for your cooperation, sir. Lastly, I need to know where you are for a hero to be sent out to you. Alright, here's my location. Thank you, sir. A hero will be on the way. Do you require any further assistance or are you comfortable with me hanging up? That's all I needed, thank you. Before hanging up on the line, the man stepped back and turned to look at the man behind him. I did as you said, a hero is on the way. Can I go now? He asked. Dabi smiled and nodded, letting the man go. Thank you, I appreciate your cooperation. The man quickly ran off, away from Dabi. Dabi watched as the house he just left was burning down. He wanted to draw the hero's attention over here in hope someone will notice his street rats and be able to help them. If they think the League is here, then hopefully it will force the hero administration to add some heroes to patrol the area too, lessen the crime and increase the chances of the kids getting caught. However, that was said and done. Dabi needed to leave before a hero did show their face around here. So, the pierced man walked into the shadows, a purple portal opening up as he walked into it, before it swiftly closed around him and ceased to exist. Dabi was gone. Is it just me, or have the streets been really empty since Dabi left? Izuku observed, walking beside Hitoshi, holding his hand. No, I think I've noticed too. Dabi's house he stayed at exploded into flames too. It looked like his fire. He's not hurt, right? I don't think so. He can control his quirk really well. Wait, Aizu, stop and come over here. Hitoshi quickly demanded, running off the sidewalk to the edge of some bushes, ducking down. Izuku followed. Look. He pointed at a hero who was quickly dousing out the fire. They had water shooting from their hands as they rinsed the house down. Police cars gathered around the area too. This had been Dabi Street. The house was nothing more than burnt and crumbling wood, completely uninhabitable by now. Nothing inside could be salvaged. Do you know who that hero is, Aizu? Izuku looked at them closely. They wore bright yellow reflective bands across their uniform. Their uniform had dark maroon colors contrasting against the yellow. They wore a mask that covered their face. He couldn't see any hair color. Izuku frowned and shook his head. He must be new. I haven't been able to look at the hero forms ever since my mom left me here. Well, before that too, he muttered. Will they help us, you think? I'm sure they would. Heroes are good people after all. Izuku wanted to go out and meet the hero, but they were busy right now and he shouldn't waste their time on such trivial matters. He stayed nearby with Hitoshi as the two boys noticed another hero with them. This hero was tall. He wore a purple costume with green gloves and a green, short, cape around his neck. He was bald with a large chin too. What about him? He knew too. Hitoshi whispered, nodding his head towards the bald man. No, his name's Slide and Go. His quirk is he has no resistance to the ground so he can move really quickly, but I didn't really pay much attention to him to be honest. He kinda give weird vibes to me. Izuku replied, rambling off his synopsis. But can we trust him? Heroes are meant to be trusted, right? We can talk to him after they take care of the fire. I'd hate to burden them. So, the two boys watched over as the heroes did their things, exploring the fire and wreckage, determining nobody was harmed. The water-quirked hero had left, but Sliden Go stayed. As his hero's name suggested, he slid around everywhere he went, eyes looking for anyone in trouble. I'm so nervous about meeting a pro, what should I do? Calm down, I can ask him for help, and if he's friendly then you can come out and we can both get the help we need, alright? Are you sure, Toshi? Of course, you said it yourself, right? Heroes were nice and helpful people. Okay, yeah that's true, but I'll still be close to you, he just won't see me, alright? Sounds like a plan, so I go in and ask him if he can help me out, and if he says yes then you can come out and we can both work with him, yeah? Hitoshi nodded and crawled out from his hiding spot. Izuku silently trailed behind, hiding behind trash cans and bushes, watching silently. If things did go wrong, Hitoshi could just use his quirk and get themselves out of there. They weren't too worried about how this hero would react. Izuku was just a ball of anxiety and apologized again for not being strong enough to talk with him with Toshi. That was fine, of course. Hey, you're a hero, right? Shinso asked, jogging up to catch up with the bald man. Slide turned around and looked at Shinso, smiling and replied, Yes, I certainly am. What's the trouble? The way he spoke, he kept narrowing his eyes at Shinso and studied his appearance. Well, my friend and I have been homeless for a while now, and we really need a hero to help us. Would you dash? Shinso spoke, but before he could finish he was cut off. You're that runaway, right? Huh. I remember reading over your case file in case I came across you down here. Your name's Shinso, isn't it? Huh. Your dad's looking for you. I'll take you back to him since you seem to be lost. Slide reached out a hand to take Shinso's. Shinso flinched backward and stepped away. No, I'm not going back there. That man was... He hurt me. Children always over-exaggerate everything. Just come with me and we'll go back to your dad's, alright? That man is not my father. Stop calling him that. Your guardian then. Look, there's a search out for you and he's the one who filed it. I can take you home and close the case. Sound good? Shinso was shaking. No, he couldn't go back. Not to that man. Not again. He couldn't leave Izuku here. No, he wouldn't. No, I don't want to go back. It would be an easy paycheck to bring you back there. The man muttered under his breath, before reaching out and forcefully grabbing onto Shinso's arm. Let go of me. Shinso yelled, pulling back. Of course, his strength did not even come close to that of the pros, but he still fought being forcibly taken away. Toshi, the sound cried out behind him. Aizu. Hitoshi turned around to see the boy had an angry, near-feral look on his face as he ran up and surprised Sliden Go. Let go of my Onaizen. Izuku cried out, his overgrown nails clawing at the man as he jumped towards him, throwing his entire body at Slide. Sliden Go stumbled for a second, loosening his grip to where Shinso was released. Izuku scratched the man's face as he was forcibly shoved off the ground. You brat. I was trying to save him. He can't go back there. That house was abusive. My Onaizen stays with me. Izuku shouted out. Shinso was actually scared of Izuku this way. He never saw Aizu so much as even raise his voice against others, but seeing the supposed hero try and attempt to take Shinso back to that horrid house, he must have gotten a surge of confidence. Sliden Go was not having that, though. He easily picked up Izuku and slammed him to the ground, too much force for someone so frail. Izuku cried out in pain. Shinso had to do something. Oh, I thought you were a hero. I am a dash. Shinso took control over him. Go away and leave us alone. Do not come looking for us. Do not follow us. Hell, don't even look at us ever again. No, I demand you turn around and leave. He commanded. Slide slowly turned around and slid away. He had some blood on his face where Izuku relentlessly clawed at, and angry red nail markings down his arm and face, but otherwise was unharmed. Izuku silently cried on the floor. He had bruising from where he was slammed, and Hitoshi quickly knelt down to offer his support, lifting up his friend. No, wait, Aizu called him Onaizen, which means he saw him as his brother, big brother. Hitoshi felt tears brim his eyes at the realization. He lifted his brother up and held his side with one arm. The other arm held onto his as the two worked on stumbling their way home. Izuku continued to silently cry. He had a bad limp in his left leg from where he was slammed, but he tried to hide it. The two walked in silence. The night weighed heavy on them as they got home. "I'm sorry." Izuku finally spoke. Tears still leaked from his eyes, and he couldn't bring himself to look at Hitoshi. "Why? Why you almost went back there and it would have been all my fault." He wavered, wobbling before sitting on the ground, resting his head against the wall. "You saved me. I was in a panic, and I couldn't think of anything. I didn't even think about trying my quirk until you freed me. Thank you." "Aizu, what you said back there? Do you really see me as your big brother?" Izuku tensed a bit before giving a dry laugh. "I really said that? Sorry, I should have talked with you about it first." "No, don't apologize. I feel the same way. I'm just glad we can call each other brother now, if you're fine with that, of course." "I'm glad too." The two sat in silence. Izuku couldn't believe a hero would do such a thing, could even do such a thing. It was new to him, but he believed it was his fault for being so naive anyways, for believing that everyone had a good sense of justice. At the very least, he got hurt instead of Hitoshi. That was a win, wasn't it? Stupid hero didn't act very heroically. Instead, he tried to take me away and hurt Aizu in the process. He doesn't deserve to be called a hero, not after that. And Izuku, self-sacrificing idiot, just had to throw himself on him to save me. I shouldn't have let that happen. Now he's limping around the place but keeps assuring me he's fine. He's not fine. He just doesn't want to show it. Did Hitoshi feel bad? Yes, of course he did. He didn't even know he was wanted as a missing child. He hadn't assumed that was something his foster parent would do. But now he knew he was wanted. He also knew people would be looking for him now, so he had to hide his appearance. Unfortunately, his purple hair is a dead giveaway for who he was. He didn't have hair dye and really didn't want to change the color anyways. He loved purple. So, he took one of Izuku's sweaters and pulled up the hood whenever he went outside. "Aizu, I'm going out. I'll find us some food," Shinso called out. Izuku peeked out from the corner. "I can come with too." "No, you're hurt. You're still limping." It's not that bad. Toshi, promise." "No. Toshi, please. I don't want you to get hurt. I can get hurt staying here too. I don't want to be left alone. I'm scared." "Scared you won't come back?" Hitoshi looked sad at Izuku, looking down and back up at him. "He's hurt because of me." "No, he's hurt because of that hero. That hero who was only interested in me." "Fine, you can come, lean on me if you need help walking, but you really shouldn't be walking with those injuries." Midoriya beamed at Shinso, giving them a bright smile, nodding his head in confirmation. Night shift was always interesting. Shoyuta watched the heroes clocking out of their shifts. Some sported injuries that were minor enough to escape the hospital, others were pretty much alright. He watched as one hero had claw marks on his face, walking around ranting about his day. It was these two kids. The one was a missing kid, and the other one was practically feral. Kids? Missing? Now this conversation was interesting. The feral one clawed my face really bad, even tackled me. He was keeping the other kid away from me so I couldn't bring him back, but I did see the missing person. "You mean you got attacked by a child and lost the other missing child?" Shoyuta deadpanned. The bald hero turned around and glared at Shoyuta. "It was not like that. He got the jump on me." "Are you not a pro hero? You lost to some children? I'd like to see you try and get that feral child under control." He challenged. "Maybe I will. Where was this?" The pro told Shoyuta the location. He checked his schedule and decided to patrol that area for the night, sending another hero to take his usual patrol route. This was a bad part of the city. Actually, he wasn't sure anybody patrolled this area before, but now that the League of Villains was rumored to be there, he couldn't be too careful. The description of a missing child being located here, and one being potentially feral, did pique his interest. Aizawa read up on the missing child that the hero claimed to have spotted Shinso Hitoshi, Quirk, brainwashing, so he would need to activate his quirk before talking to the child, that way he wouldn't get controlled. He looked really young. He wondered how a pro could be blindsided by a child of all things. As Aizawa leapt on top of the roofs, he could hear a few people struggling in alleyways. He made his way and captured a few civilians harming other civilians. Nothing was new. He made a call to the police, ensured the bystander was unharmed, and continued on his route. This part of the city caught on quickly to his appearance here. Even if he tried to hide it best he can. Soon it became a quiet night. As the night dragged on, and the noise died down to the regular buzzing of streetlights, he could hear some rustling happening in an alley. Shoyuta went to check it out. Peeking over one of the buildings, staying in the shadows, he could hear some voices. They sounded young. You could get hurt. I told you, dumpster diving really is dangerous. It'll be fine, just keep watch, we need food anyways, we don't have any left. I know, but what if you get hurt? It'll be alright, you should worry about yourself. Some of the light from the street lamps casted on them, and Aizawa could make out the small figures. They were kids alright, perhaps the same one the pro was referring to. He dropped down from the roof and landed at the entrance of the alley, blocking their way out. His feet hit the pavement with an audible thump. One of the children squeaked in fear and looked directly at him. Toshi, someone's here. The other kid who was there instantly poked his head out from the dumpster he was in, face scowling instantly as he rushed to his friend's side, standing defensively in front of the other. Who are you? This. Aizawa studied them for a minute. The hood was on, but he felt sure these were the kids he heard about. He activated his quirk, eyes glowing red and hair lifting from his face. Before he had a chance to speak though, the kid cowering behind their friend lit up and near shouted. Eraserhead? How do you know who I am? Nearly no one ever recognized him. He was an underground hero for a reason. The child stopped looking at him and started whispering to the other kid. That's Eraserhead. Oh my god, it's Eraserhead. Toshi, what do we do? Get away, obviously. But it's Eraser. Did you forget what the other pro did to us? Izuku went silent, looking back up at the pro. Yes, kid, my name's Eraserhead. I'm a pro hero and I've come looking for you both actually. Would you mind if we talked? Yes, actually we would. Heroes can F off for all I care. Toshi. What? It's true. He replied, glaring at Eraser. Did something happen to you both in regard to another pro hero? They were silent for a minute. The hooded kid, which Aizawa assumed was Shinso, took the other kid's hand and began to turn around. Leave us alone. He commanded. Aizawa blinked for a moment, before looking at the kids. I know your quirk, Shinso, isn't it? He stopped walking and stood frozen. I'm not going back to that hellhole called a house. Got that? If that's why you're here you can mark me as dead for all I care. I'm not going back. Alright, you don't want to go back? You won't go back then, kid. I just want to make sure you're both in an okay environment and I'll go. How about I just SE you both home, is that alright? No, go away. Toshi, it's Eraserhead. I know who he is. So, you should know. Izuku leaned down to Hitoshi, whispering in his ear, we can't outrun him, he can erase your quirk, and I can't exactly run right now either. Let him walk us home and hope he leaves, alright? And if he hurts us? I can't use my quirk and you're already hurting. You run away and I'll let him hurt me. I have a high pain tolerance, and they'll stop eventually. He's a pro, so killing us would just be annoying, but if he tries to hurt us then I don't mind taking the brunt of it. Absolutely not. What choice do we have? Your life's worth more than mine anyways. Don't talk like that. It's true. Izuku mumbled to himself. If you walk us back home, will you leave us alone? I'd like to ask you both some questions too, but I just want to make sure you both are safe, nothing more. Safe? That's funny considering what happened yesterday. Shinso commented. What happened yesterday? Shinso grabbed Izuku's hand. They slowly began walking out of the alley, Aizawa close by. They didn't trust this pro after yesterday, but they also acknowledged Izuku was right in their assessment of the situation. If it would calm the hero's mind to see their home and let them go, then they can pretend this night never happened. Shinso ignored the tired-looking man and put himself in between Eraser and Izuku, not letting the man get close to his friend, his brother. Something happened yesterday. Shoyuta couldn't put what, but he could figure it out from the cues he was given. One thing he realized is that Pro did something to hurt them. They didn't trust Shoyuta, so the man had broken the kids' trust somehow. 2. Shinso was extremely protective of this other kid. They put their body in front of their friends throughout the entire interaction since Shoyuta came into the picture. It was clear he cared a lot about this kid. 3. The other kid was quiet, only talking in whispers and scared looks. It seemed like they wanted to talk to Shoyuta, but just couldn't bring themselves to. So, Shoyuta would have to treat them like scared cats in an alleyway, approach with caution and avoid sudden movements. Let them know you're not harmful, and if they run away, just make your presence known in the area and let them know you're no threat. They'll eventually warm up to your presence. Ow, the green-haired kid said, suddenly stumbling into the wall and holding on to it. Aizu! Shinso cried out, instantly grabbing hold of their friend, before sending a death glare to Shoyuta, as if he were the cause of it. I'm fine, I'm fine, my leg just kind of gave out? I don't really know, but it's okay, Toshi. Do you need help? Aizawa tried, reaching a hand out slowly. No. Buzz off, go away. Don't touch him. Shinso bit back. Kid, if you're hurt, I can help take care of you. Want me to carry you back to your place? No. I wasn't asking you. Shinso glared at Aizawa. The other kid wobbled back upright. I'm fine, really, it's not a big deal, promise? Aizawa watched the kid continue to walk. Only this time he heavily favored his right leg. Shinso helped hold him steady while the kid braced the wall. Please, just let me carry you. I promise I won't take you anywhere besides home. You have my word. The green-haired kid looked at Shinso, who shook his head no. Taking a deep breath, the kid stared into Eraser's eyes, searching for something. Whatever he was searching for, he didn't find it, or maybe he did. Aizawa just hoped he could look as sincere as possible to the kid. All right, you can carry me, but only back home, okay? The green-haired kid said. Aizawa tried not to smile at that. He was glad the kid would trust him despite what Shinso was saying. Izuku! Shinso cried out, giving his friend a surprised, shocked expression. It's Eraserhead. And? Don't you remember what I told you that night? Izuku replied, looking sheepishly down at his hands, fidgeting with them. Shinso was quiet, looking at Eraserhead, then back to Izuku. I'm trusting you this one time to bring him back for me. If you do anything to hurt him or take him away from me, Shinso said, staring Eraserhead down. I promise, I won't do anything you both don't approve of. I just want to make sure you're both okay. Aizawa knelt down to Izuku and held out his hands. Come here, Izuku, is it? Aizawa said to the green-haired child. Izuku looked at him with something akin to fear, but also wonder. He wanted to trust him. He just had to see for himself that he was capable of trusting. Nichim, my name's Midoriya Izuku. He said, timidly making his way to Eraserhead, allowing the man to gently scoop him up and hold him protectively against his chest. The movement slightly hurt Izuku's leg, but he didn't show the pain to anyone because he didn't want Hitoshi to bite Eraserhead's hands off. Midoriya then, all right, I'm going to follow Shinso back to your guys' home, okay? Okay. Thank you for trusting me, you're very brave. It's nothing. Shinso huffed at that and walked beside Eraserhead. His eyes moved from the path to Izuku every so often to ensure he was okay. Want to tell me what happened yesterday? It's okay if you're not ready, but I would just like a better understanding of the situation. Aizawa spoke. Hitoshi looked at Izuku, who shrugged at his gaze. Sighing, Shinso began. Aizu and I were checking out the fire that was set to one of the houses here. We saw pro heroes for the first time in a long time and we got excited, hoping they could help us. Well, things were going fine until the pro recognized me. He said I was a missing person and he was going to take me back. I tried to explain how that man was abusive and I refused to go back to that place, but he wasn't having it, saying how I was an easy paycheck. Hitoshi said the words mockingly, doing air quotations around the word, and rolling his eyes. He wasn't letting me go, so Aizu attacked him. His nails are sharp, pretty sure he drew blood, but then the hero threw him really harshly to the ground. Then I used my quirk on him and sent him away. Aizu's been limping since that. Izuku hid his face in Eraser's chest, mumbling a, sorry, into the black fabric. Shoyuta was taken aback by what that hero did. There were all too many red flags here, and wait, he called this child the feral one? Shoyuta looked down at the kid in his arms again. Very sorry that you both had to experience that. If you are ever able to go down to the police station with me, I can help you file a report and give a statement. We can revoke that hero's license to ensure he doesn't do that to anyone else again. No. It's really not his fault. I attacked first, he was just defending himself. Izuku cried out, looking terrified. Defending? Against what? A 10-year-old? Look, kid, you were defending your friend and acting more like a hero than he was. You think I was a hero? He mumbled, completely unable to grasp the concept someone had told him that, Eraserhead no less. I do. Eraserhead said with a nod. He's not 10 by the way. Shinso said off to the side. How old are you both? I'm 9, Iza's 8. Geez, that makes it even worse. The two continued walking. It seemed the conversation helped calm Shinso's nerves. Izuku looked like he was about to fall asleep. Wanna tell me why you're both out here? Do you have anyone watching over you both at home? Shinso was silent for a few moments. They continued walking until Shinso could see their shelter coming up soon. Eraserhead figured that no more questions would be answered for tonight. That was alright, he got lots of information on these two now and he could research them in the database and see if anything comes up. Maybe he'll even ask Nizu to help assist him in this case. There were not only two kids who needed help, but a pro-hero needed to be taken down, and an abusive household that needed to be burned. He would never burn someone's house down, of course, he was a hero for a reason. But man, did he have good reason to. It's just me and Izu, no one else is with us. I'm a runaway, as you already know, but Izu's mom abandoned him here. I won't tell you anything more unless Izuku is ready to tell you all that himself. Shinso stated. Thank you, Shinso, you're very brave, I appreciate you telling me all of this and I'm sorry you had to go through all of that. It's whatever, look, we're here at our house, I need to put Izu to bed, you can leave now. Shoyuta looked at the rundown house, the rotting wood, broken windows, the walls that caved in and led way to a leaking ceiling. This place was horrible, but it was sheltered from some of the elements at least. It was better than living in an alley though. Shoyuta made his way inside of the house, crouching down to go through one of the broken down walls the way Shinso was doing. The boy in his arms had already been asleep a bit back on their walk. He followed Shinso's directions of where to set him and he saw they were living inside of a walk-in closet. It was long and a little bit spacious but otherwise quite small. He saw the boys had a backpack they used as a pillow and 2 blankets. There wasn't much else around. I'll be back tomorrow. I can bring you boys some supplies to help you both out. What do you need? Shinso stared at him, thinking. Food is a big thing we're low on. I was diving for some before you came and interrupted us. He explained. I'm sorry, can I make it up to you by giving you both some jelly pouches? Jelly pouches? Yep, they're easy to eat and cheap to buy. Have some, I always carry some on me. He said, handing the purple-haired boy a few flavors he keeps on hand. Shinso accepted the watermelon, blueberry, and peach-flavored ones. Thanks? I never had these before. They're a lifesaver, kid, can't wait to find out which flavor's your favorite. I'm not eating them until tomorrow so Izu and I can experience it together. That's alright. Let me know when I'm on my patrol how you think of them. Shinso nodded, putting the pouches to the back of the closet where they stored everything. They were silent for a moment. Aizawa was turning around and beginning to leave. Why are you helping us? Aizawa stopped in his tracks and looked at the kid behind him. His hands were at his sides and a determined, confused face stared back at him. It's what a hero does. I wouldn't be much of a hero if I let you both suffer any longer, now would I? I guess. Thanks for being reasonable. Anytime, kid. I'll be back tomorrow with more supplies, and I want to look at Midoriya properly tomorrow too. If his injuries are really bad we can take him to the hospital to get them looked at. Alright, we'll be here. Goodbye, Eraserhead. You can call me Aizawa Shoyuta. Make sure Midoriya knows that too, okay? Oh, well, if we're all going to give out our names tonight, mine's Shinso Hitoshi. You knew that already from the report, but this makes it like official or something. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you, Shinso. Thanks, Aizawa. The two waved goodbye and Aizawa left the house, looking back at it as he left and seeing how run down it appeared to be. He was surprised the thing was still standing given the amount of rotting wood that was going on with it. When he was far enough away from the kids and making his way back home to his loving husband, he couldn't help but feel something weird inside him. He had the urge to protect these kids, but it was more than that. He wanted to take them home and show them how much love a family could offer. He wanted them to be kids again. They looked so broken and fearful today. He couldn't help but wonder what they would be like without needing to guard their personalities. It felt like they were walking on thin ice, hoping it wouldn't crack beneath their feet. Oh God, I want to take in these strays, don't I? He laughed to himself. Zashi's gonna kill me.